Hello, 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 folks. Happy Wednesday. Hi, Esther. Hi, Arenzi. Hi, Rascal. Hi, Lalo. Hey, Cormosaurus. Hey, Fat Cat. I hope everyone is having a good day today and a good week so far. Hope everybody had a good Labor Day. If you were able to have the day off, or even if not. We'll get started in about 2 minutes. Hey, Trisha. Hey, Jazzy Pants. Hey, if you're catching up on the VODs, that's totally fine, my friend. Jag Tony. I was gonna play Pokemon, but there's all this learning about to be going on. Oh, dang it. Hey, Rufio, what's up? Everybody say hello to my fellow stream team member, Rufio, who's been making progress on their 100 hours project, their awesome talking dictionary. Happy Wednesday, MME. 24/700 devs win. I don't know. Leon's pushing for that 24-hour marathon, like where he and the stream team and like mods and stuff, we all trade off and stream for like 24 hours straight. That'll be a doozy. All right, folks, we'll get started in just a second. I think my dog is having an issue. I'm going to pause for. Okay, folks, give me like another minute. I have to take care of something real quick. Bear with me, one more minute. Okay, folks, sorry about that. Let's just say my dog was eating some questionable things outside earlier, and it's come back to haunt him. So I think we're okay now, though. All right. Hello, hello, everybody. What is my hair doing? I don't know what my hair is doing. All right. Good to see everybody today. Welcome, welcome. Blip says, I'm ready to see Mayan Wolf solve some 1Qs. Yeah, that ain't happening. Sorry. You're not gonna get that. uh, Jazzy says, let's pretend the dog learned a lesson from this and they'll never do it again. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. that ain't happening either. Dogs don't learn lessons, especially when it comes to eating things. All right, so welcome in everybody. Going to be a fairly chill, laid back stream today. We're not going to be covering anything new or groundbreaking, but what we are going to be doing is taking care of this week's Codewars assignment, which is to do some array method Codewars. So specifically, we were assigned this week on Codewars to look for some that are tagged as arrays and do 5 of them. So we're gonna get through as many as we can. Sorry. You okay, bud? Okay. We're gonna get through as many as we can. And also too, I thought we'd do, we're gonna kind of play it by ear tonight. We might, if y'all want to, we might take another quick spin through the Leon's MVC code with authentication. Um, and if you have any questions on that, we can look at how the pieces fit together. I know Leon went over it last night, but there was a lot there's a lot in that, right? There's a lot to that code. And so I want to, if y'all have any additional questions, I want to take care of that for you. And then I did want to show you something kind of cool, actually. If there's time at the end, we'll take a look at just kind of a fun look at one of those AI image generating programs called Stable Diffusion, which I just got today. So we might have a little fun little demo of that at the end. All right. We can run the other code. Leon linked the social media. So binary upload boom, which is the other code. We're actually not going to do that one tonight. We will do it. I promise. We'll go over it. But Leon has mentioned to me that he prefers that he is able to cover that code in class first before I go over it with you all. And it's nothing that we've been doing wrong or anything. It's just Leon prefers that, he goes over it in class first so he can judge the effectiveness of his teaching methods versus me prepping you all and then you coming in with all the answers in chat, right? And then Leon doesn't know if he's just knocking it out of the park with what he's teaching or if it's just because we covered it before on my stream. So we will definitely go over that, just not tonight. Like I said, kind of probably chill stream tonight, just doing some Codewars, knocking them back, and answering any additional questions on the auth code. Oh, you were just using Stable Diffusion, Rufio? That's rad. Yeah. Flip says I've been playing with it nonstop. Yeah, I love it. So cool. Yeah, okay. Renzi says Leon teaching it and mine while going over it is the best combo. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just really, it's not about changing anything about the way that either of us cover the material. It's literally just changing the order, right? It used to be that I would cover it I would kind of like get ahead a little bit and cover it first, and then Leon would cover it in class. And Leon just asked that, hey, maybe we switch up that order. He covers it first, and then I, reinforce it on my stream. So I'm totally cool with that. Absolutely. All right. So, I was actually really happy to see, that Leon assigned array methods for the Codewars assignment for this week because I love array methods. They're so fun. And so I figured we'd do some Codewars, that focus on array methods. We're actually going to do some 7Qs this time around, I think. Last time when we did strings, we kind of eased into it. We did 8Qs. But I think we'll do some 7Qs this time around and just knock them out of the park, hopefully. And we're going to use the prep method to go over them and solve them that way. And if you don't know, prep stands for it's PREP. It stands for parameters, results, examples, and pseudocode. And it's the method that Leon recommends for answering these sorts of technical coding challenges in job interviews. And actually, I will tell you that the prep method is useful in other cases as well, such as in the real workplace. And I actually just realized something today. I realized that I actually use the prep method. Well, my team actually uses the prep method when we write specifications for new like SQL tables and SQL mappings. I'm a SQL developer. That's what I do for my day job. And we actually use the prep method when we write those specs. And I had no idea. So as we get into it, I'll go into a little bit more detail about how I use it in real life. But I just thought that was kind of cool and just a connection I made today. So. And Mimi says, when I do string challenges, the first thing I do is turn the string into an array. Yeah. Using array methods with strings is so useful, isn't it? All right. Let's switch it over. All right. So any questions before we get started? Can somebody send me a link to prep method? I think Blah had it on a website. Yeah, Blah had a wonderful blog post about prep. If somebody has that handy, if you could shoot that up there in chat, because it's definitely worth a read. If you haven't read Blah's, oh boy, if you haven't read Blah's blog about array methods, or sorry, about prep, you definitely should, because it's a great post. Blah's blog. Yeah, that's hard to say, man. All right. So, and also too, if Rascal were here, we'd have that link already. Oh, thanks, guys. Jazzy Pants and Rascal teaming up. I like it. Also, too, definitely make use of the resources that Leon posted in the follow along materials channel this time around. So Leon posted links to a couple of resources for array methods specifically. My favorite, though, has got to be this javascript.info page, javascript.info/array methods. And there, I've just pasted the link to that. It's also on the follow along materials channel too. No worries, Caitlin. Good to see you. Yeah, JS Info is a great resource. I love it, especially this array methods page right here. I know it's behind my head, but if you open it up on your screen, you'll be able to see it as well. And it's just so fantastic. It gives great examples of every single common array method. It's just the best. Hey, piece of shoot. All right. So, with that being said, how about we dive in and do some Code Wars? Okay. So, I'm going to go over here to Code Wars, and I've already kind of done some filtering, but I'll start from the homepage again, and so you can see how I got here. So, I'm going to go back to the homepage. And two, also, I do want to mention before we get started. So, the reason why Leon is assigning these Code Wars is not so that you can be top 50 on the leaderboard or get up to 1 Qs or be doing doing 2 Qs nonstop and stuff like that. It's really so we learn how to approach these problems and solve them in a logical way, solve them reliably, so that when you inevitably get asked a coding problem in an interview, you can solve it without too much trouble and know how to put these methods into use. He's not assigning these just to help you get all the points, right? And so it's just important to keep that in mind when you're doing Code Wars. It's not necessarily about quantity as quality, right? And I made that mistake when I first started out. Did it way too much, and now I have to refocus that and say, all right, no, it's about quality, not quantity. So that's the way you should be approaching these Code Wars. Okay, disclaimer out of the way. Piece of shit says, so don't be like some of us. Yeah, well, don't be like some of us, including me. When I did all of the 8 Qs, like that was not the best approach. He didn't assign them as prep for leak coding our way into Mang. Well, I mean, you could, but I don't think that's the primary goal. All right, so we're at the home page here, and we're going to go to the practice. There we go. And I'm just going to select the difficulty here of 7Q. And the most important thing that Leon wants us to do is make sure that we get the right tags. So he said do ones that are tagged as arrays. So we'll do that. And also I'm going to do a sort here, and I'm going to sort by most completed. Now you can sort it by whatever you want, but I'm going to sort by most completed because those are the ones that literally the most people have been able to solve. And I think that's a great way to start when you're easing into a new Q level or any time. If you're having an issue with Code Wars, just sort by most completed. Those will be the ones that make the most sense, right? So that's what we're going to do so that we can all, feel good about solving them. Cormasaur says, not me sitting in my office doing 20 katas instead of working. Yeah, that's a challenge, isn't it? Because Codewars are so satisfying when you complete one. Kasava says, good evening. I'm pumped. I know good enough to figure it out, but I'm at the spot of break it and learn. That's perfect. Yeah, it's a great place to be. Be a code weenie and do least completed? No. When you, especially with like, even with the AQ level, when you got to the bottom of the barrel, some of those were bad. I'm not bothering with that. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this one. What is this one? Sum of two lowest positive integers. And I've actually done this one, but that's okay. I'm going to do it again. So what do we have here? I'm just going to go ahead and click train. And what I'm going to do is also, so I have a folder here for Codewars with today's date. And I'm just going to go ahead and create a new file. What is this? Sum of lowest. Oh, that looks weird. All right, sum of lowest ints.js. All right, there we go. Oh, thanks, Rascal, for the search page there. Flip says, the final 8 Qs were kind of awful. Yeah, they were. Yeah, right? Some of them were just math problems. It's like, no, if I wanted to do math problems, I would be reliving my statistics major, and I don't want to do that. All right. So we're just going to go ahead and grab the, I'm going to grab the text of the problem here. And we'll just make this full screen so it's easier to see. Okay, there we go. All right, and highlight this as a comment. And now let's do the prep method on this. So start with the parameters, and then we'll do the results, do the examples. Oops. And we'll do the pseudo code. All right. Okay, so the parameters, what do they mean by parameters? Well, they mean what is going into the problem. So what is the input that's coming in? And then results are what comes out. The examples are examples of what they want, it's like specific examples of what they want to come out of the problem. And then pseudocode is just sort of talking about how this might be solved in a general way without getting into too many specifics, keeping things in fairly plain language. Yeah. Tay Mister says, I always skip the mathy ones. Yeah. Yeah. Some of them you just have to skip. All right. So, yes. And Jazzy Pants says, no, that's all right. Jazzy Pants has answered the first question. So the parameters are, so what do we have? Okay. So the parameters are positive integers. Okay. Positive integers. Anything else? What else? What other limitations do we have on what's going into our function? What's going in? So read carefully. This is why we're reading carefully. It's why it's important to break this out in this way. So read carefully. What specifically is going in to the problem, to the function? Positive integers. Yes, an array. Exactly. That's what I was looking for. It's an array. Yep. I mean, that may seem obvious based on what we filtered on, but if you were being asked this in an interview, you have no control over what's being asked, right? So you want to be clear. All right, an array of positive integers. And so by positive integers, Fat Cat, brought up a good point there. Essentially, it's going to be by saying positive integers, what you're going to get is whole numbers greater than 0, right? So we could even say that a little bit more plainly. We could say whole numbers greater than 0. And as somebody mentioned earlier, the array has a min of 4 integers. Sure. Okay. Yeah. So this is really important to pay attention to, because this will determine, what we do and do not control for inside of the function, right? Okay, what do we expect to get out of this? What's the result going to be? I'm going to hydrate here. What are we going to get back? Yeah. Yeah, it's a sum, right? Sum of the two lowest. Yep. The sum of the two lowest ints in the array. And I guess we, this is kind of, might seem kind of obvious, but we could also even say like a number, right? We're expecting that this sum is going to return a number. So perfect. Okay, and then some examples. And for what I usually do for Codewars is, for examples, I usually grab whatever's in the test cases. So in the bottom right, behind my head, there are multiple test cases that say what goes in and what comes out. So I'm just going to kind of grab those. I'll just grab them all. And those can be really useful if you're struggling with solving any of these questions. Oops, come on. There we go. If you're solving these questions, if you're having trouble solving these questions, definitely look at the test cases and see what goes in and what comes out. And that can give you a better feel for what the problem is asking for, especially on those ones that are less clear. Yeah, you could even say, yep, you could even be more specific there. EROC, you could say a single number, right? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So what is the way, what's a potential way, just talking generally, what's a potential way that we could maybe solve this problem, where we create a function, we return the sum of the two lowest positive numbers given an array of at least 4 positive numbers, no floats and no non-positive integers. So they give us an example right here. Output should be 7 because that's 5 plus 2. Yeah, we could do, Drunk Uncle says, I never thought of using the test cases for examples. I just looked there for the function. Yeah, definitely use the test cases. That's what they're there for. That's literally what you're going to be tested on the first round. Like when you click test, that's literally what you're going to be tested on. So you might as well use them, right? Yeah, so we could do a sort. Yep, we could definitely do a sort them and then sum the first two. Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and, so that seems to be the common answer. So let's go ahead and try that. It doesn't check for ints. That's true. However, the question has told us that no floats or non-positive numbers will be passed. So I think we're safe. So I don't think we could check for negatives, but I don't think it's necessary in this case because the question has explicitly told us that it won't happen, right? So let's let's finish our pseudocode here, and then we'll actually start coding the thing. All right. So for pseudocode, we could say sort the array from smallest to largest, capture the two smallest array members, and return their sum. Yeah. Okay. Piece of shit says, one thing to be wary of, don't modify the sample tests. Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to do that. All right. So that's, if I was in an interview and I was asked this question, and then if after I'd gone through, and gotten the parameters, gotten the results from the interviewer, said, okay, this is what you want to go in, this is what you want to come out, then, maybe had them give me some examples of what they would see. then this is how I would read it back to them and say, all right, so I think how I'm going to solve this is I'm going to sort the array from smallest to largest, capture the two smallest array members, and then, sum them together and return their sum. So, and then I would actually go and solve the thing. All right. So what was that function called? Let me get it. Just grab this and console log it. And so this way, we're just going to test it in VS Code first. This is the way I like to do it anyway. We'll test it in VS Code first. And then once we know it's working or think it's working based on the examples that we have, then we'll drop it back into Codewars. Okay, so folks mentioned sort. Okay. It's been said quite sometimes that what a potential employer evaluates is not only your ability to code, it's more of a test on communication. Yes, absolutely. We aren't doing prep just for, just for our health, right? It's more about the employer is wanting to see how well you communicate, and how well you can take in information, comprehend it, and internalize it, and then return it back in your own words, because that's actually huge when you're working on real coding projects. And I think after we solve this first one, I'll share an example of how I actually use prep in the workplace. So all right, console log, let's see, we're going to console log something in the end, which will then change to a return. So let's just set up an array here. And then we're taking in something called numbers, right? Our input is numbers. So it's going to be numbers dot sort. Okay. And then I always forget the syntax for sort. So I'm just going to check my handy dandy array methods here and find sort. This is my favorite thing to do on this page. I just do a control F and look for what I'm looking for. All right. So okay, so I think it's going to be, I think we're going to want this one right here, actually. Yeah. Let's do this. Numbers dot sort. And what this is going to do is it's going to sort it in essentially from smallest to largest. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just like Arenzi said. Yep. Same thing here. A, B, and then A. All this is doing is it's just telling the sort function what order we want to sort in, right? If I did B minus A, that would do largest to smallest. So we're just saying smallest to largest. And Jazzy Pants says, yeah, I find that page to be way more clear than the MDN with its examples. Yeah, the examples are the best. And like you just saw, I just copied and pasted straight from there. It's probably not best practice, but it's easy. Yep. Okay. So we're going to do that. We're going to sort our array. And then what are we going to return? What are we going to be returning? So after we've sorted it, what is, we have this information now, it's sorted. So what specifically are we going to be returning? If we want to capture the two smallest array members, what are we going to be returning? The sum, yep. Yeah, but what specifically? Yeah, exactly. The first two indexes, right? Yeah, or indices. I don't know. Is it indexes or indices? I don't know. All right. So we can just do our array 0 plus array 1, right? Because arrays start at 0, so we want the first two members, and we're just summing them together. So let's go ahead and see if this works. First Impact says, are you prepping for an interview? Me personally, no. However, we are practicing interview prep in general because a lot of the folks in chat are prepping for interviews like hardcore. Yeah. So personally, I'm not, but I love practicing this kind of thing because it's always good to keep your skills up, and I want to help the folks in chat ace their interviews as well. All right. So we're just going to run this real quick and make sure it works. Oh, I didn't pass anything in. Duh. All right, so jeepers. Let's pass in one of the examples. Sum of two smallest numbers, and let's pass in this one that they gave us as an example here. Okay. I always do that. I always just run it and expect it to work without putting anything in. Yep. All right, there we go. Saved, and let's go. Okay, so our example here that we got back was, our answer here that we got back was 7, which is the answer that they gave us in the sample case here. Let's solve it without sort. Yeah, we can. Let's first make sure that this is absolutely working properly. So I'm just going to grab a few of the grab a couple test cases here. But yeah, we can find an alternate way to solve it. I think I have an idea of what we could do. Okay, this one says 6, and that's 6. So yeah, I think we've got it with this sort. But yeah, we don't have to use sort. You know, in for very long arrays, that could be a bit more of a challenge first try. Well, we haven't actually submitted it yet, so you never know. Some of these guys have curveballs. Yeah. Iterate through and compare. I mean, yeah, we can, but there's other array methods that we could use though, that maybe aren't sort. So let's just, I have an idea of something else we could try. So I'll just comment this out real quick. Actually, I'm gonna leave my test case in place here. So grab this, take out the guts here, and okay, so what's another way? What's another method that you can use to find the smallest value of something? What's another way to find the smallest value of something in JavaScript? Yeah, so math.min. And how can we do that? What's a way that we can do that using modern syntax? What's a way that we could do that to an array? This one's a little bit more challenging. It's not something that it's not something that we've necessarily covered too much. Nani says, how are you able to check your code? So I have an extension called Code Runner. I've installed it on my VS Code, and I would highly recommend it. It's great. It basically just lets you do console logs right here in VS Code without having to run it in the browser, right? Or run it in Codewars. So I can just do console logs straight into Codewars right here, not straight into VS Code right here, and check my work first. Yeah. And so, yeah, we can do something called the spread operator, which is a new syntax. And so, if we want to use a little bit, you know, of a modern approach for finding the minimum, we could use the spread operator. So maybe we try that. Let's do. Okay, so we're passing in two smallest numbers, and we may, given the nature of this, we may just end up doing it twice. So we could do like let first num equals what so math.min, and then using the spread operator, what we can do is, what this will give us is the minimum of that array. So let's just test that first real quick. I'm just going to console log first num. I know this isn't what we want, but let's just make sure that that's what, you know, working. So, all right. And that's why I like using VS Code to test these things, because if I were to test this in Codewars right now and have it like, you know, just say like return first num, Codewars would say, oh, it's wrong. And I'm like, I know, I'm just testing Codewars. Thank you. But with VS Code, you can just kind of play around, right? So that's why I like that, because I don't like seeing that red box around the Codewars screen on the left. That really just makes me cringe. So Codewars doesn't have any of those red boxes. All right, let's try this. Save and run. Okay, and so that gave us the minimum value of the array that we passed in. So it said 2 was our output here, and 2 is the min. So that does appear to be working. Okay, so if we were going to use min, um, that's all well and good, right? We have our first number. But once we have the first number, how can we get the second one? We want to disregard the first number now that we have it, right? We have it, it's stored in a variable. It's stored in a variable, so it's essentially duplicated, right? We've copied it out of the array and put it into a variable. So what's a way that we could um, get rid, I guess, of that first number and then grab the second one? Jazzy says push it into a new array twice and then add that. Yeah, I mean that's something we could do, but let's try to use another array method. Oh yeah, and I'm at King mentioned, so if you want to use this Code Runner extension that I'm using right now, it's fantastic, it's great, but you do have to have Node installed, and so I think most of us do at this point. If you're following along with 100 devs, exclamation point Leon in chat if you want to learn about that. If you're following along with 100 devs, which many of us are, you should have Node installed, and so you should be able to use Code Runner. Yeah, so I've got some good suggestions here. So as far as how we can disregard that first number now that we have it, we could essentially just, we could filter it. I think I'm going to use, so one thing I don't use very often, it's something that Kasava mentioned, is splice. I feel like I don't use splice very much at all. And so let's see if we can do it. Let's see if we can splice that first number out of there. And then essentially just repeat the process and find them in again, and then sum those two together. Yeah, if you want to install Code Runner, just go to the extensions right here. See where my mouse is? Just go there, type in Code Runner, and install. It's that easy. And then when you do that, as long as you have Node installed, it should just work. And you'll be able to just click this little play button up here anytime you want to console log some code or run some code in your output window down here, and voila, you're good to go. Yeah, it's just called Code Runner, and I think any of them are probably fine. The play button, yeah, the play button right here. That's how you run it once you have Code Runner installed. That's how you would run your code. Yeah. So install Code Runner first, and then you'll get this play button, and then it'll go. Yeah. Okay, so let's try Splice. No worries. Awesome. All right, so let's try Splice, but let's look it up first. So I'm sure, some of you smarty pants know the syntax memorized. I don't. So Splice is down here. There's a wonderful summary at the bottom of this page where they essentially just list out all the methods and how to use them, which is just great. So we can just do splice, position, delete count, and items. Okay, so at index position, deletes, delete count, so the number of things we want to delete, and inserts items if we want to insert anything. Now in this case we don't, right? We don't want to insert anything, so we'll just leave that argument blank. But I'm going to grab this and just copy that, and we'll just do now. Here's a question. Don't get it twisted. What are we splicing? So if I need to apply, something dot splice, right? But what is the something? What am I splicing? Because we have a couple choices here, right? Yeah. So what specifically? Which thing here am I splicing? Yeah, I'm specifically splicing the array called numbers, right? Numbers dot splice. Because it can be easy to get it twisted and accidentally try to splice first num, which wouldn't give you what you expect, right? So we're going to do numbers.splice, and the position. So what position are we what position are we splicing out? Thank you for sharing the kata there, Tame Mister. Appreciate it. Is it 0? Are we splicing 0? Is it always going to be 0? Let's take a look at this one. In this example, we found the min of numbers and assigned it to first num. The min of this array was 2, right? That's not at position 0. That's not at position 0. So we need to be careful about that. If we were to splice position 0 of this array, we would be taking out 15, which is not what we want. Yeah, and so it is item 3, but how do we know that whenever we are, how do we know that when I'm passing in a different array, like this one? Or not, that's a bad example. This one. What about this one? How do we know the position of that min, of the number that we are storing in first num? You need the index. Yeah. So in general, you need the index of that minimum, right? And so Cassava, yeah, we could sort, but the goal with this particular iteration of what we're solving here, we used sort the first time, right? We did numbers.sort the first time. The second time we're solving this was to try to do something different and not use sort, because sort can be kind of resource intensive. It was just for fun to try to use some different things. And so we're going to need the position. Yeah, we're going to need the position of that number. And as folks are saying, we can use index of in order to find the position. So let me see if I get this right. I think it's numbers dot index of, okay. And then what we can do here is just drop in first num. So what that's going to do is we've already assigned the minimum to this first num variable. And then we say, okay, what is the position of first num? In this case, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll say, all right, this is position 4. And then our delete count is going to be 1, because we just want to get rid of that specific number. And then we don't want to replace it with anything. So I'm going to get rid of that value altogether. Oh, mine, you're working on hard level. Yeah, well, that's kind of we're just kind of, we're just kind of playing around with our options here a little bit. So I probably won't be able to do this for every single one, because I want to solve 5 Codewars tonight. I do. Like the last time I tried, I think we only got through 3, but I enjoyed, like, this one was fun. So I like finding alternatives to sort, because sort is like the go-to, right? But there's other ways you can do this kind of thing. So I appreciate the exercise. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're essentially taking numbers, we're chopping out the minimum, and now we can just do what we did before. We can just do it again, right? We can do second number and find the minimum again, because now, for example, this array here has had the 1 removed. So it's going to look for the new minimum, in which case that's going to be 23, right? And finally, now I think we're ready to return the result of that. So then we can just do first num plus second num, and that should do it. So I'm going to reset this array here. All right, let's test this out and see what we get. Yeah, what do the 3 dots do? So that is what's called spread. And so what that does, it's fairly new syntax. What that does is it takes an array and it spreads it out inside of this function. So it evaluates each member of the array individually rather than like as a whole. It evaluates each member of the array individually. And so math.min looks at each number in that array and then is able to tell what the lowest value is. Yeah, and piece of shoot, that's a great analogy. It's kind of like split for strings. You know how a split takes a single string and it spreads it out into an array? Well, spread does that for arrays, except it separates it out into its individual components. Yeah, so spread is actually really cool, and I'm glad we're able to use it here. Because it's not something you always think of right away, but it's super useful. And a lot of people don't know it because it's fairly new. So again, good to practice this. All right, so console, all right, let's try this. All right, save and run. Okay, we get back 24. And so what that did is it took the first minimum and the second minimum and added them together. So I think that's right. Let's test it one more time. Let's do this one. So they're expecting 16 here for this answer. So let's see what we get. Save, run. Hey, we got 16. Go us. Which connection is that, Gret Kane? The spread. Oh, split to spread. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that I really appreciate that Piece of Shoot brought it up, because a lot of us do really understand split, and so comparing it to spread, I know it's not an exact comparison, but we ain't about being exact around here. If y'all have seen me before, yeah, I think it's a great way to think of it. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and submit this. We'll just turn in this function just because I don't have it commented out. It doesn't really matter in the end, right? So we'll grab this and we'll test it out in Codewars. Okay. Drop that in. And where's the test button? Where'd you go? Huh. Okay. Test. Oh, I always do that. Dang it. I always forget to change this to return every single time. Every single time. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's go ahead and attempt. See if we got it right. Well, first off, okay, we'll attempt it first. Yeah. Hey, nice. We got it. Because I think the first time that I solved this, I used sort. And so it's good to try something different. First try. Thank you all. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about this, about the way that we did this before we move on? Jinx, indeed. Any questions? Otherwise, we'll just go on to the next one. Which way would you say is best practice? I think best practice right now is to just test as many different methods as you can. I think that's our best practice right now is to solve it one way and then go back and see if maybe you can solve it another way a little bit later. So let's go ahead and see what the top solutions are. I think at the moment that's truly our best practice, is learning different ways to solve things. Okay. So yeah, the top one here is definitely a sort, which does not surprise me. Yeah, return that. Again, another sort. Another sort. It's sorts all the way down, people. Here we have a loop. That seems rather clumsy, but hey, I mean it worked, right? This one is a one-liner. They're doing a sort and then a slice. Okay, so they're slicing it out that way, and then a reduce. Wow. So they're doing everything all in one, right? They're chaining these methods together. So they're sorting it first, and then they're slicing the two smallest, and they're reducing and summing. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, it does make sense. Like, I mean, this seems like it's a little pretty hard to read, and it's still using sort, but I mean, it does work. So yeah, it's everybody just doing sort. Nobody's doing anything creative other than, I mean, the loop I guess was okay. And here's another loop. I was just looking to see if anybody else did it the way we did. Sort. It's all just sorts. Lame. We're way cooler than that. We come up with new and exciting ways to do things. All right. So let's go on to the next one. I meant to open this in a new tab. I always forget to do that. All right, back. Did I get my points? Hey, I didn't get points for. Oh wait, I already did that one, so it doesn't count. Dang it! I was like, why didn't I get my points? Oh yeah, and also too, don't forget to rate your katas. Every time you complete a kata, you'll see on the solutions page there's an option for you to rate it, and if you rate it, you get 1 extra point. So if you're after that point life, definitely rate your katas, and that also helps people find the good ones, right? If you rate them honestly and don't just click all of them as very good. If you rate them honestly when you don't like one, that'll help somebody else from having to go through torment. Yeah, it looks like I will get points on this next one. Okay, let's see it. Sum of odd numbers. All right. Oh boy, it's a math problem. Oh, it's okay. We're just gonna breathe and we'll get through it. We were just talking about math problems. All right, it's okay. I'm a stats major. All right. SVU says, Mind Wolf, are we ready to start learning React? Yeah, I think we're going to be learning React very soon in class. I would imagine probably in the next week or so, we're going to start learning React, which I'm excited about. And some folks have started learning it independently, but I mean, don't feel pressured to learn these things ahead of time. Like, just go with the flow, chill. We got a lot of things to do, right? But I do think we're going to be getting to React very soon. Drunk Uncle says, yeah, I love doing that. The first answer, make it easy to follow. Then the next answer, go for the full Codewars one-liner. Yeah, totally. Tay Mister says, I didn't write almost 500 of mine. Oh my gosh. I have to write a script to click them all. Hitachi says, I see this kata all the time and ignore it because the math is trying to insult me. Well, let's insult it back and let's see if we can solve this. All right. Yeah, and I'm sure there's a pattern here. We'll find it. We'll figure it out. Nobody better tell the answer. don't no hints. We'll get it. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure there's some kind of a pattern. Hey Arenzi, if you noped out of this, but for all the folks that noped out of this one, we're gonna apply our collective brain power, and y'all go in there and solve it. Once we solve it here, y'all go in there and submit your answers too. I like that it insults me. Okay. All right. So what do we want to do here? Given the triangle, calculate the sum. I'm actually not going to do prep for this one, I don't think, because it's just like it's a math trick. Well, actually, no. We can do prep. That's all right. Calculate the sum of the numbers in the nth row of the triangle, starting at index 1. Calculate the sum of the numbers in the nth row. So, okay, starts at 1. Okay, I got it. All right, so it's saying that this is considered row 1, row 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Cool. Look for the math solution. Yeah, it's definitely just a math problem. Math is disrespecting me. Math disrespects me all the time. All right. I was not a happy camper in college with that stats major. All right, what was this one called? This one was called Sum of Odd Numbers. All right. .js. All right, and we'll grab the problem. It's probably going to paste in there really super weird, but that's okay. We'll get the gist of it. Oh, actually, that pasted in really nice. Cool. Okay. All right, so our parameters. Our parameters here are, well, it's a triangle of odd numbers, of, I guess, consecutive odd numbers, because they get bigger as they go. Consecutive odd numbers. And And I think the important thing here is that it has n rows, right? So with n rows. Yeah. So it's not like it stops here. They're implying that it keeps going, right? So I had college night the night before stats lab class at 8 a.m. barely passed. All right, the result and what they want back is, oh wait, so the parameter, okay, so parameters is a triangle of consecutive odd numbers, and then but what's actually being passed in though? So we're passing in a triangle of odd numbers, but what's the input to the function? What's the actual input? Let's think about this in a different way. The row, yeah, DFD coming in there with that first time chat. Go DFD, welcome. Nice. So input is the row number. Yeah. Parameters is a triangle of consecutive odd numbers with n rows. And I'm going to say this too. I'm going to say where n starts at 1. Yeah. And actually just typing this out, I'm getting it. I think I'm getting an inkling of what this might be, but we'll try it out. So prep is helping. It's helping. All right. The result, what they want the result. The result is, well, they give us right here. It's the sum of the numbers in row n, right? And then some examples, which they also gave us right here. But let's look at the test cases again, like we usually do. Look at our test cases. Yeah, the row as index, row number. Yep. Okay, the test cases aren't great, but I guess here's a good one. So I'm just gonna grab this second one here. The second one is actually a pretty high row number. So row 42 should sum to this value. So that'll be a good one to test with. The other examples that they gave us are right here. So these we can test with all of these. But this is a good one because it's pretty high. 42, yeah, like Rascal said earlier, it is the answer to the life, the universe, and everything. So, all right, examples. And since this is a math question, I don't know how much pseudocode we're actually going to have. I think I just kind of want to look at this mathematically and see if we can figure it out. So, all right, so let's just I just want to look at this triangle for a second. So the sum of this first row is 1. I'm just going to do a couple of these manually here. And then the second one is 8. And the third one is 27. Oops. And the fourth one is, I don't know. I can't do that in my head. Calculator. All right. 13 plus 15 plus 17 plus 19. That's 64. Ooh. I'm seeing a mathematical trend here. And this one is, I'll clear that out. 21 plus 23 plus 25 plus 27 plus 29. Man, my keyboard doesn't have a number pad, and like I'm so much faster with a numpad. 125. Okay. Did that sum up right? Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, that looks right. Okay. 125. All right. So a common thing that I'm seeing here, this one is pure math. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing multiples of 8. I'm assuming this is also a multiple of 8, but I don't know. It probably is. So these are all multiples of 8. But Wait, no, that's not a multiple of 8. That's not. So no, that's not. Because that's I can't math. All right, that's 9 times 3. Oh, but that's okay. Wait. Okay. Yep. All right. So this is 2 to the third, and this is 3 to the third, right? And is this 4 to the third? I think 4. Can I do that here on this calculator? Whatever. I think it's 4 to the third because 16 times 4 is, yeah, 4 to the third. I think that's right. Yeah, and 1 is 1 to the third, right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think what we're seeing here is the row number to the third power. So let's try it. Let's try it. Yeah, this is a strict math problem. I don't like these, but that's all right. I think we're getting there. 2 to the third, 3 to the third, 4 to the third. I'm assuming this is 5 to the third. Yeah, well, yeah, it is, right? Because I think 5 times 5 times 5, 25 times 5. Yeah, it's 125, right? So 5 to the third. Yay, math. Yeah, exactly. All right. We can do math. Go us. Okay, let's try it. So I'm going to skip the pseudocode on this one just because there's not much to say, right? So what's the function called? Let me grab it. Row some odd numbers. All right. Put that, and we'll just do, all right. So okay. There is a little bit of uh I don't know, methods that we could use here, right? Because we could do just console log n n n, if assuming that we pass in row number n, right? We could just do that if we want it to be boring. Or what's another way we could demonstrate this? And n times n times n. What's another way we could show that? Yeah, we could do n pow 3. Yep. I was actually thinking of something else though. Yeah, like Andrea had said, I was actually thinking let's try math.pow. I know we don't have to do it that way, but why not, right? All right, math.pow returns the value of a base expression taken to a power. So I think it just goes like we pass in n, and then we pass in the exponent. Yeah, the exponent value of the expression. So in this case, that's 3. So let's try that. So let's do the test case here with 42 and make sure that we get this number back. All right, so row some odd numbers. Let's do 42. Okay. Piece of Street says, I remember they gave us a bunch of numbers and told us to find the series in university. Nice. I'm sure I probably got asked that question at some point too, but I blocked it out. Okay. I like it when computers do my math for me. Oh yeah, all right. Look, we got 7488 back, which is what we were expecting. So I think we might be good to go here. Let's try it. And I'm going to remember to change it to a return this time. We'll test that. Hey, we passed. Not that these are very good test cases. These are pretty crappy test cases. Oh, we got a foster kitten cam. Yeah, so we'll do a foster kitten cam today. And I think I owe somebody else a foster kitten cam too. So we have two foster. So we have Hatricia claimed a kitten. So Hatricia, are you still here? Are you still on stream? If Hatricia is still here, we'll show their kitten on stream today. Yeah, Patricia. So one of my channel point rewards is to actually name one of my foster kittens. I have 3 of them right now, and so 2 of them remain up for grabs. Patricia has claimed one of them, and so it is about time for break. So maybe when we come back from break, I will show a kitten on cam. If Patricia is here, I'll show their kitten. If not, that's okay. We can do another kitten cam on the next stream. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay if you haven't decided on the name yet, Patricia. I can still show the kitten. Nothing's stopping me. So after stream, I'll grab your little kiddo, and show them. They're very cute. Um, so that's something to look forward to. That's something to make you come back after break, right? No, you're okay. You're okay, Tricia. I was just making sure you were still here so that I could show your kitten on stream after the break, and you'd be able to see her. So now you're good. That was all I was. I just making sure that you weren't gonna miss your own kitten coming on camera. Yeah. All right. Let's attempt this. Yay! We solved the math problem. Go us. Oh, thank you, Fat Cat. Yeah, we got a little bit of everything on here, don't we? We got math. We got kittens. Yeah, it's wild. We got dogs horking up on the rug. Got everything. The points. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Actually, that was the top solution. Nice. All right. Oh, golly. This is a wild one here. I like this. They did a whole proof. This person did an entire proof. And then at the end, they just went like, oh, and then returned and times n times n. That is, I love that. That's amazing. Just oh, and then return. That's the best. What queue are these? These are 7 queues. Yeah, we're not getting too crazy. Yeah, n times n times n. N pow pow 3 for an exponent. This would work too. N pow pow 3 does exponents for you, so that can work too. Now this one they did a loop. That's interesting. So they just looped through the entire thing and like did the math on each row. Huh? That's one way to do it. Okay, awesome. Well, I think it's time for a break. So when we get back, we will do cute kitten cam for a little bit. And then we'll go back to solving some more Codewars. So because we've done 2 so far, and I do want to get through 5. So I think we'll be able to manage that tonight. No problem at all. Yes, and 3 more, exactly. Maybe we'll do 6. I don't know. Maybe we'll be overachievers. Yeah. And these are 7 Qs, not because we have to, just because I like arrays, and so we're just turning up the heat a little bit. No worries, I'm at. Yeah, we did do 2, but only 1 array question. That's right. Yeah. Okay, so break time, 5 minutes. We do that at the top of every hour if you're new here, just because we'd like to be healthy, and that'll give me time to grab a kitten. So, and kick my dog out of the room and grab a kitten, because dog and kitten do not coincide. So, yeah. All right, 5 minutes. Oh no! Oh no! The Google timer! It's gone again! I can't live with this uncertainty. Ugh. Gotta use the stupid knockoff timer now. Dang it. Right? You gotta use this white mode timer that, like, blows your eyeballs out. All right. Fine, I guess. Start timer. Blue Dream says, are we supposed to be aiming for 5 Codewars daily? No. 5 Codewars for the week, and then doing like your daily, like, your 1 a day, right? You could even do your 1 a day and have that be your 5 array Codewars. So just 5 array, specifically array Codewars. So ones that are tagged as arrays for the week. So do 5 of those and you'll be fine. Hey, Yusuf, we're just starting a break, but come back. If you come back after the break, I'm going to be showing off one of my foster kittens, and we're going to be doing some more array method Codewars. Yeah. Bye bye, Google timer. Yeah. All right. I'll see you back here shortly. All right, folks, we got about a minute left in the break, and I've got a little friend here. So as soon as the timer winds down, you get to meet my little friend, who is yet unnamed, but I'm sure Trisha is thinking about it. They say hello. Oh, we gotta hydrate. Okay, I'll get my tea. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the timer now. And we will get back to a lovely dark screen again. There we go. And I'm gonna switch to chatting, turn my camera back on. All right, welcome back, folks. And say hello to my little friend. This is the kitten that Patricia chose. Yes, she is about 4 weeks old. Yeah, she's about 4 weeks old. And yeah, she came into the shelter with her siblings, no mama. So I've been taking care of them for the last uh, week and a half or so. And yeah, they're very sweet, very cute. Yeah, just little tabbies. There's two little tabbies that look pretty much identical, and then there's a third one that is white, black and white. So uh, yeah, super cute, super loud. Yeah, they're super loud. They can be super loud at this age, but that's fine. Yeah, that's fine, isn't it? Yes, it is. Yeah, you're a good baby. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'll put it. Yeah, I'll put her next to the mic. You talk to them. Say hi. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I call it when they're this age. I call them little squeakers, just because they squeak. And, they don't really meow. They just kind of squeak. So she thinks it's dinner time right now, but I just fed them before the stream. So yeah. These guys are not quite 5 weeks yet. They're 4 weeks. They're also a little underweight, so they're a little small, but I think they'll be fine. They're doing really good. They're doing really good overall. Yeah, I know. You don't bite my fingers. You just ate. You just ate. Yeah, she's biting my fingers. But what about second breakfast? Yeah, if there's second breakfast, then we start to have digestive problems, don't we? Yeah, if we eat too much, that causes trouble down the line. So we don't want to do that. For cats, it's always dinner time. Yeah. Yeah, but this little thing, she's going to get a name from Patricia. And then there are two other little cuties that are also up for grabs with your channel points. Um, Fearson says, quick question. Oh, that's a great question, Fearson. I really like that. Fearson says, quick question before I go to sleep. Does it cost a lot to take care of kittens? So I actually foster kittens through my local animal shelter, and they get in kittens all the time, especially in the summer, that come in without their mom, or maybe their mama is sick, or maybe they're sick and their mama is sick. And they need someone to take care of them. And the shelters do not have the staff to do that. Kittens require, when they're young like this, they do require, round the clock care, feedings every few hours. However, the nice thing, to answer your question, the great thing is that the shelter gives me pretty much all of the supplies that I need. I choose to buy some things on my own, just because it's more convenient for me than going to the shelter, and I have the means to do that. But not everybody does, and so if the shelters are generally happy to give you the supplies for free, like food, bottles, syringes, wipes, blankets, that kind of thing. Even like cages and enclosures too. Um, and so they will, they'll give you those things for free just because they need the manpower, right? They need people to do this job. And so that's the great thing about fostering, is that they will essentially meet you where you are, and give you what you need to be successful. So yeah. Yeah, it is really great. And so, if you want to take care of cute, adorable kittens, I would suggest checking with your local humane society or checking with your local cat rescue, and seeing what kind of programs they might have. My kids will allow me to watch your stream to earn 6,000 more points to name your kitties. Yeah, absolutely. I like the way they think. Yep. Why are you biting me? Don't bite me. You just ate. I know. Yes. Okay. I think Kiddo is. I'm going to put Kiddo back here. But yeah, if I think in the next stream I'll probably show a different kitten just because we had that extra cat cam that was claimed, and so I'll show the other two as well at some point. Yeah, they're super great, super cute, and it's super rewarding to watch them grow up. So it's a great thing to do. Yeah, absolutely. Rescue agencies and shelters are really overwhelmed. My local shelter is well over capacity. And so they're doing the best they can with what they have, but it's really not enough. And so they really need fosters and people to just take some of that load off of them, which is what I'm doing. So yeah, I'd be sad to see them leave. It always is a little sad, but the cool thing is after you do it once and you get a little sad, then what I've done in the past is literally go back to the shelter and watch them get adopted. Like literally watch somebody walk into the room with one of your foster kittens and you just see their eyes, like you see it in their face. And I'm getting chills. Like you just see it in their face, and you see somebody find their best friend, and no feeling is better than that ever. And so to know that you're doing that multiple times, fostering multiple times, and facilitating that feeling for multiple people, it's just the best thing in the world. So it's sad, yes, but it's a minor sadness in comparison to the good you are giving back to the world. So a lot of people get hung up on giving them back, and no, you're not giving them back. You're creating a bond that somebody might have for the rest of their life with this animal right here. So um it's just the best. Like I'm getting like goosebumps. It's the best. So, and I've seen it happen multiple times. It's super great. Definitely worth it in the end. All right, yeah, you're biting me really hard. Her teeth are coming in, so she's starting to bite me really hard. All right, I'm gonna put her back. I'll be back in just a moment. um and we'll keep doing some code wars. Yeah, she's super feisty. Because anytime I pick her up, she thinks it's food time. So, all right, I'll be right back. Okay, and we are back. Um, Kaya Strata says, "My mother will name the cat." Well, Kaya, if you stick around on my stream, you will earn enough channel points to have your mother name a kitten. So yeah, absolutely. Stick around on the stream, earn some channel points, and then yeah, your mom can definitely name one. Yeah. Just one second. I'm just going to double check that I latched the door on the room where I'm keeping the kittens. 2 seconds. Alrighty, we are good to go. I can hear them. I can hear them meowing through the wall because their room is right next to this room. So yeah, I can hear them meowing because they're like, "Where's the food?" Yeah. Oh, Sunny bro, you just missed the kitten cam. You just missed it. That's all right. There'll be more. There'll be more. Even Santa checks twice. Yeah. It's an old house. The doors do not work properly. So all right, let's go ahead and do another Code Wars. We've got at least 3 more to go. So I think we can get through them, but They always take longer than I anticipate. Not because we're doing badly, just because I like to talk. So, all right, let me get my screen sorted out here. Okay. All right, and we are back. Loving the emojis. Okay, so we did. So the last one we did was the sum of odd numbers, which was essentially like a math problem. That's okay. So let's look at this one here. Looks like I've done this one at one point. That's okay too. I don't think I remember this one. All right, so given an array of ones and zeros. All right, so finally we got, here we have an actual array problem. So given an array of ones and zeros, convert the equivalent binary value to an integer. Okay, so 0001 is treated as 0001, which is the binary representation of 1. Okay, so we're doing some conversion here. We're taking an array, we're collapsing it into a number, or, well, I guess a string, and turning it to binary. Yeah. And Rascal there has shared the link to the kata if you'd like to follow along. So, oh, and it says the arrays can have varying lengths, not just limited to 4, because I guess larger binary numbers could be longer than 4 digits. So let's see if we can figure it out. All right. I'm going to name this one a little bit differently here. I'm going to say convert to binary. All right. Oop. .js. Okay. Drop that in there. And all right, so what are our inputs? What are our parameters that are going into, what are our parameters going to be going into this function? What are they giving us? What are our parameters that are going into the function? It's an array, yep, an array containing ones and zeros, okay. It's an array, but somebody said 4 positive integers. Is it 4? Does it say? What does the problem say? What's our limitation on length? Did they give us one? That could be important. It says, okay, yeah. So it says not limited to 4, right? Yeah. So array containing ones and zeros could be varying length. Yeah. So yeah, that's important to think about, because this is a little bit misleading when you see all of these test cases that have 4 digits and you're like, oh, it's going to be a list of 4, right? But then they're like, nope, psych, you're wrong. Yeah, exactly. All right, and then what do we get back? What's the result? Or the return, whatever it is. What do they want back? What do we want out of this problem? An integer, yeah. So they specifically want an integer, right? Integer, an integer equivalent of the binary value represented in the array, right? They want us to take the array and interpret it as binary and then spit it out as an integer, right? Yeah. So examples. I forgot how much the value increases from each 0. So, well, I mean, they give us a pretty good look here. So it's like it ticks in sequence, right? So we go from 0 to 1 in the first slot, and then 1 in the second slot, and then 3 would be like, I believe it'd be 0011, and then it ticks over again. 1000 is 4, and then 101 is 5. So it fills up the available zeros with ones, and then it ticks over to the next slot. So that could be a way to think about it. It fills up the available space, the available zero spaces to the right of each one. It fills that space up, and then when it has no more zeros to fill, it ticks over to the next slot. So it fills that next space with a 1, and the others tick over to 0, and then we start over and we fill it up again. Yeah. So, or you could think about it mathematically, like Piece of Shoot mentioned. I like to think of it more. I think of it more visually. Like we start with, no space to the right when we have 1. And so it ticks over to the next slot, fills that with a 1, and now we have an open 0, and that's equivalent to 2. And then 3 would be equivalent to 1, 1, because we're filling up the 0 space with a 1. So 1, 1 is 3, and then 1, 0, 0 is 4, 1, 0, 1 is 5, 1, 1, 1 is 6, etc. So, but I mean, you don't have to, binary is not something you have to know, right? I mean, it's kind of fun to know, but it's not something you got to memorize. So don't worry too much about it. All right. So examples. Let's look at the test cases. It's okay, DevQuest. Don't worry about it. Hey, Ranj, welcome. Welcome to the stream. We're doing some array methods Codewars, and we're using the prep method to help prepare folks here for job interviews where you might get asked technical questions that are similar to this. And if you can use the prep method, that will really demonstrate your communication skills and really sell those skills to the interviewer. So that's what we're doing today. So let's grab these test cases, and we can use a few of them when we go. DevQuest, if you really want to learn binary, I'm sure you can find some really great like demo tools online that will show you the process of how that works in detail. But we'll have these examples and we'll run them through our function when we're done, just to make sure it's working properly. Okay. And the last step is pseudo code. And we kind of talked about this a little bit already, but let's phrase it out again. So what do we need to do here, right? Essentially, we need to take the array and turn it into, now what are we turning? Okay, here's a good question. So what are we turning the array into? Sure, we're and I guess say take the array and join the elements together into what? Are we joining the elements together, like these four array elements here? Are we joining them together into a number, or what? Before we do any kind of conversion, let's take this in steps, right? The last step, obviously, is to do some kind of a conversion into binary. But first, we need to take the individual array elements and turn them from, say, like 0001 to this, right? Right? So what is that? Like, what data type is that? Is that a number? No, it's not a number, right? It's actually a string. Don't get got. Don't get got. Because think about it. If this was a number, you would lose those leading zeros, right? Because this is equivalent to just 1. And this is equivalent to 10 if it was a number. But if it's a string, we can preserve those leading zeros, which is what we need for the binary conversion. Binary requires that, right? So we got to think about data types. So we're going to join the elements together into a string. right? We're going to join them together into a string because we need all of these elements for a successful binary conversion. And so join the elements together into a string and then convert to binary using that string. Yeah. And return the integer equivalent, right? Yeah. Okay. Seiko says, why not iterate through the array? I mean, so iterate through the array to do what? What would be the goal of iterating through the array? What would be the goal of iterating through the array there? I don't think we have to do that, but okay. I see what you're saying, Seku. So binary is not equivalent to the sum of these array elements. Binary is a form of counting that doesn't go in sequence, right? So let's look at some of these examples here. So it's a different type of mathematical system. So look at this example right here. In this example, we have 4 elements, 2 of which are zeros. And then the integer equivalent of this binary expression is 6. So 1 plus 1 is not 6, right? And 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is not 15. That's just the binary equivalent of this numerical sequence. So if you've never seen binary before, that might be a little bit confusing, but it is just it's a different number. It's a different number system. Yeah. Or you could iterate and multiply. Yeah, we could iterate and multiply each digit to element times 2 to the index. Yeah, so we could do it as a mathematical function that way, but just summing would not work. Yeah. You could sum it by multiplying it by a multiplier and then increasing the multiplier. Yeah. But I think there's an easier way. I think there's an easier way. Doesn't mean you have to do it this way, certainly. Let me grab the function here. All right, so let's do a console log. And well, somebody mentioned earlier, so let's take it step by step. We're gonna take the array and join the elements together into a string. So that should be fairly simple. We can just do r.join, right? And we're just joining on the individual elements, so we don't have to put anything here. So let's just let's console log this first. Get one of the examples. Make sure that gives us what we want. Binary array to number. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, so that gives us what we want there, and now we just need to convert this to binary. So I'm recalling that there is a function, as some folks have mentioned, there is a function for that, which is called parse int. And what parse int does is it allows us to take in a string and convert it into a number. But the cool thing about parse int is that we can specify, oops, I'm putting it in the wrong place, sorry. Not there, here. Parse int. And the cool thing about parse int is that we can specify what type of number we want to convert it to. So we can do that by adding a second argument. And I think it's by the base. Yeah, so a value between 2 and 36 that specifies the base of the number in strings. Now, binary, because of the name. So if you are an English, if you're familiar with English, you might be able to pick up what type of base binary is just by the bi prefix, and bi generally means 2. So thinking about binary, we can say that that's probably a base 2. So let's try that. Piece of shit. You're just eager. I know. It's okay. But we're gonna take it slow. We're gonna try to, talk through these. I do appreciate your enthusiasm though. We're just talking it through step by step, and we'll all get there eventually. Um, yeah, two options, right? We have the 1 and the 0, and then it flips over. So really, there's only two digits. It's like computer code, right? Computer code is 1 and a 0, and it can only be 1 or 0. And so when it fills up the available space, it has to flip to the next slot, right? So let's try this, and let's see what we get out of this. So if I put in 1111, I expect it to return 15. So let's see if we can console log this. Hey, all right, it's way down there, but I should need to clear out the terminal. Let's try it again. Let's run it again. All right. I think we're good though. Run. There. Okay. So yeah, we got back 15 because we're parsing that integer. We're parsing it to an integer, I suppose. We're passing in a string, telling it which base to use, and then getting the result back. So let's try another one here. Would expect to get 6 back from this one. Save and run. Yeah, we got 6. Oh, and Tame Mister, they're giving us an alternate solution with iteration. I'm assuming the mathematical way that somebody mentioned before, multiplying each to power. It is cool to remember that there is a specific, there's a specific built-in function that can do that for you. Although solving it mathematically, of course, isn't a bad thing. You could do, you could do a reduce with and specifying each ABI. Specifying each to the power of, so a plus b to the power of, or sorry, b times 2 to the power of I. Yeah, I mean that would probably work. I've only ever done it with parseInt. Yeah, we could try it with a reduce. But if you're not mathematically inclined like me, it's nice to know there's a built-in function that can also do it. So I just grabbed that from chat. All right. Oh, I think there's next. There we go. Let's try that. We'll try it. Oh, sure. That's totally fine. I'll talk about that in just a second there, Matt. Oh, all right. So that didn't return anything. Probably something missing there. That's okay. Well, I'm going to go back to the original solution just because I think it's good to know. It's good to practice this function. Somebody had a question about it. So no, I console logged it. It just something about that construction wasn't maybe quite right, but that's okay. No, I had the console log in there, I think. Didn't I? Oops. Did I not? I can try it again. I want to see if it works. Oh, I see. I messed up the parentheses, didn't I? Oh, yep. No, it worked. Good. Awesome. Yep. Good alternate solution. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, piece of shoot. That's a good solution too. But yeah, let's go back. No, you're a good, piece of shoot. I think we got it. Yeah, you got this is a way to do it too. It's just taking, essentially it's taking it's holding the running total in A, right? So as we loop through, it's holding that running total. B is each number that it's touching, and then I is the index. And so it's saying, all right, here's the running total, and then for each number that we touch, multiply it by 2 to the index value, and starting at 0, multiply it by 2 to the index value, and add it to the running total, and that should work as well. Yeah. A is the accumulator, right? Or the running total. B is the current number. I is the index. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. I am going to put back the original though, just because somebody had a question about it. So, oops, too far. Well, I guess I lost it. That's okay. We'll do it again. Parse int. And then we take in our first argument is the array. And then it's a base 2. All right, so somebody asked why the 2? What does this mean? So essentially, different numerical systems have a different counting base, right? Because like think about binary. It is essentially a base 2 because it only has 2 options, right? It has 0 or 1. Our counting system that we use, like Arabic numerals, that's a base 10, right? Because we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then essentially we flip over, we flip back and start again at 1. It's 11, but it's 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, 1, 7, 1, 8, 1, 9. And then we flip back again and we go 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 4. So it's a base 10, right? As each time we get to 10, we flip back to the beginning. And so ours is base 10. Binary is base 2. There's all sorts of different systems. You don't have to remember it. Binary might be a good one to know because it's more common. Just, I would just remember that the 0 and 1s are binary. It's a base 2. Regular counting is base 10. Yeah, I would say don't worry too much about memorizing all the bases. Just remember that you can convert strings to integers using parseInt. If you're trying to convert from binary, you would use 2, and that's probably really only the one you really have to worry about. I mean, in most cases, anything else you could Google. Google is always there. Google is your friend. Yeah. All right, so let's drop this in. And you can remember that regular counting is base 10 because we only have 10 fingers, right? Yeah, you might see hex code too. Yeah. That one you could probably Google though. All right, and I'm going to switch this to return. This should work. Let's try it. Oh, okay. Guess not, maybe. All right, return, parse int, base 2, expected 0 to equal 1. Okay, did I miss an argument? I haven't used parse int in a while. Oh, I know what I did. I didn't join the array. All right, join. Yeah, need to join. Yep, exactly. Oy vey. All right. There we go. That'll do it. Second try. Hey, all right. Perfect. Yeah. So somebody said need to make it a string. No. So the join, when we join an array, this is good actually. So when we join an array, we're converting it from an array to a string right then and there, right? We don't need to do a second conversion. Join turns it from an array to a string. So it's all good. We did it right here in the first argument, and then we're saying use base 2, parse that, turn it into an integer, and return that integer. So, hooray. Yay, we did it. Perfect. ParseInt beef 16. All right. Yep. Looks like that's what folks are using here. Oh, golly gee. Okay, I actually kind of love this. They literally manually coded out the binary values from 1 to 15 and put them in manually. That's amazing. Doing double and comparisons on each one. I love it. Yeah, and here's the mathematical representation too. Yep, here's that reduce that piece of shoot was talking about. Yep, lots of people doing it as reduce, parseInt. Yeah, yeah. There's some big brain answers sometimes. Yeah. My favorite though is still the one where somebody put like the entire lyrics to what was it? I forget which song it was. They put an entire set of song lyrics and then a one-line answer. like they commented out all the song lyrics and it was like, 50 lines or something, and then they put the answer at the end. It's my favorite one ever. Okay, so we got that, and I'll go ahead and rate this one because I forgot to rate the last one. Remember, if you rate your katas, you get an extra point. So this one was good. Helps you practice some parsing, which we don't do all that often. So yeah. Okay. Odd or even? Let's just go right into the next one, I think. Oh, it was the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yep. Oh, and before we go on to the next one, okay, because otherwise, if I don't say it now, I'm going to forget. So I did promise that I would mention how I actually use prep at work. And so I kind of mentioned it before in like a general sense, how you can use prep when you're talking to someone who may not be super tech savvy and you're trying to get project requirements from them, right? So you're talking to them about a project. They have an idea of what they want to do, but they don't understand the technical stuff that goes into it. So using prep can be a great way to make sure that you hammer out those project requirements. Um, but I was thinking about, I just thought of today a way that I actually use prep at work all the time, um, for more than even just getting project requirements. So um, at work, we do these things called specs. So each time we develop a table, so I'm a SQL developer. I write a lot of tables, a lot. And I write full mappings, which have multiple tables. So essentially, the gist of it is that you're taking data in a table in a SQL database, you're grabbing that data out of that database, and you are doing some transformations to it. It could be doing mathematical operations. It could be um, changing string values. It could be changing column names, that kind of thing. You're doing a bunch of stuff to it, and then you're dropping it into another location for use by somebody else. So you're taking the source data, you're transforming it, and you're loading it into destination. It's literally called extract, transform, load, or ETL. And when you do that, you're writing a bunch of tables along the way to store the data at various points. And so obviously, if I'm going to be writing, 5 or 6 tables to do this transfer, I want to make sure that I have all of the information that I need. And so in order to do that, um, we do what's called specs or specifications. We have to write a specification file for each time we do this, and we run that by the customer to make sure it's what they want. And actually, in these spec files, we are doing prep, because what we do is we show them the source data. Like, here's all the fields in the source table. Here's information about them. Here's what they are. Here's the ones we think are being used. Here's the ones we're going to exclude because they're not being used. So we show them what goes in. And then we also show them, we propose what's going to come out. So the end field names, what the field names are going to look like at the end. Um, and some examples of what conversions we might be doing to that output. So like saying like transfer, let's say a field has um, uh, X and null, right? So if something is flagged, it might have an X in that field. If it's not flagged, it might have a null. Well, we might convert those to yes and no because that's easier to read. So we'll say, I'm converting this from X and null to yes and no, or Y and N. And so we're giving some, results. And then we're also giving examples of what's in each field. So we might say this field contains, ID numbers, and we might give some examples of what those ID numbers look like. Or this field contains time periods, and we would give examples of those time periods. And so that's literally the E in prep, right? We've seen the P, we've seen the R, we've seen the E, and then the pseudocode. So that's more helpful for the developer. Is when I'm building a spec, I will, if I know a conversion of some kind needs to happen, or a join or a lookup, I will pseudocode that lookup in the spec itself and say, all right, we are doing a comparison of, let's say so I work for a university, we have academic terms, and each of those academic terms has a numerical code that's associated with it. Well, that code, just looking at it, might not tell you very much. I don't know if this string of numbers is fall, spring, or summer. And so I need to look up the description for that code in a different table. So I would pseudocode that in the spec and just say, where academic period code equals academic period code in this other table, and then return description. And so that's kind of cool because it's literally all of the elements of prep. And I do that all the time. I did like 5 of those specs last week. And it's prep. It's showing you what goes in, what comes out, examples of what's in there, and literally pseudocode for how to accomplish some of the parts of that. So this prep stuff that we're doing, it's not just for interviews. It's not just for making you look good to get the job. It is truly applicable on the job, and you will be using it. Maybe not necessarily in the same way that we're using it here, but the general principles are extremely applicable to everyday work. So I know that was a bit of a digression, but I do want to show you that, like, I just literally made the connection today. I was like, man, literally I'm doing prep in every single spec that I write. So that's pretty cool. This stuff really works, and it's used, right? I wish I could show you one of our specs and like demonstrate how it's being used. I might, maybe I'll mock one up at some point. I don't want to show you real data or real examples of the types of data, but I could mock up a spec using the template and show you what that might look like. So not everybody does it the same way that my employer does, but I do think it's fairly common to do specification documents before you start developing something. Okay, so sorry for the digression there. I don't know if we'll be able to solve this next one before the break, but we can at least look at it. So maybe get the prep part done. Yeah, Blip, you can, Blip is right. You could, MME, you could go back and rate your previous solutions. You can always see your past solutions for ones you've already completed, and you can rate them posthumously or whatever. All right. So let's look at the next one. Oh, this one's okay. This one's interesting. Given a list of integers, determine whether the sum of its elements is odd or even. Give your answer as a string matching odd or even. Okay. If the input array is empty, consider it as 0. I guess they mean return 0. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. All right. So input is 0, output even. Input 0, 1, 4, output odd. Input 0, -1, -5, output even. All right. Okay. Get rid of some of these spaces here. I think I just bookmarked them instead of rating them. Yeah, you can always, like I say, you can always go back and look at your old solutions and rate them that way. Reduce time. Yep. But let's go through the steps first, though. Let's make sure we understand what's going in and what's coming out first. So what is going in? What's going into this? What's our input for this particular function? Oops. Okay, so yeah, an array of integers. Yeah, and they do say if it's empty, consider it as 0. Okay, an array of integers or an empty array. Oops, array. Okay, and what do they want back? What is the result supposed to be? Yeah, so they want us to say if it's even or odd, but they want it specified. They've specified that they want the output in a certain way, right? And so what they want is whether the sum of the I can't spell the sum of the array elements is even or odd displayed as the word even or odd, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then some examples. We'll grab the test cases for that. Can't even spell examples right. All right, examples. I guess I did this one at some point. I don't remember it though, so that's okay. Yeah, so here's some good test cases. 0, 1, 0. I'm going to grab both of these. Got some good edge cases. Oh yeah, good edge cases. Good, lots of, wow, this one has a lot of test cases. That's actually really nice. So I'm going to grab a bunch of these. Yeah, so we've got a lot of good tests here that we can try. Okay, and then what is a potential way, pseudo code, just speaking in general terms, what's a potential way that we could solve this problem? That we could take this array, sum the elements, determine whether it's odd and even, and then return that result. Yeah, and so a couple folks have said we could do it with reduce. Yeah, absolutely. And then what's so all right, use reduce method to sum the array elements. And then what's the quickest way for us to check whether or not something is odd or even? Yeah, we could do an if. What is that called? What is that called when we do the percent sign two? What's the proper name for that? Yeah, exactly. It's a modulus, right? So if I was typing this out in plain English, I wouldn't say percent sign two. I would say use reduce method to sum the array elements, and then check whether it is odd or even using a modulus, check whether it's odd or even using a modulus, then return the appropriate string value, right? Yeah. So we're doing a few things here. We're summing the elements first, then checking whether it's odd or even with a modulus, and then returning either the word even or the word odd. Yeah. Yeah, remainder operator too. That's a great name for it as well. Yep. Okay, so I do think reduce is probably the best choice for this. I mean, you could sum it kind of manually by looping it through, but looping is great, right? I have nothing against looping, but I think it's kind of it's an easy fallback, right? It's an easy fallback, but it's important to also remember that we have tons of other methods that can do things more quickly and easily than just plain old loops. So it's good to practice these other methods that we have. So let's, I'm going to grab the function first, and then let's look at reduce. Oh, well, I guess the answer is in here. I must have been working on this at some point, and then I didn't submit it. I don't know. Well, I guess spoilers, but let's do it anyway. I don't know how that happened. But let's look at reduce anyway. All right. Control F on that. We're just that good. Oh. Reduce. Okay. Yeah. So reduce, we have, it's a function with accumulator, item, index, array. Yeah. So this is a better example of it here. So we reduce. First thing is the sum, and then the current value. And if we want to sum the whole thing, we would just have the sum is our running total, is our accumulator, the current value, and then 0 for starting at 0. So I'll just grab this. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I didn't grab the function like I said I was going to. Function is odd or even. that in. And now I'll grab this again. Yeah. Okay. Some current, perfect. Okay, so first we're checking. So first we're summing it up. And then after that, we essentially just need to check and see if it's odd or even. So we can do that with a modulus. Divide that by 2. And what we're going to do here, I think what we can do is just a quick ternary operator. So with a ternary operator, we're checking to say, hey, if, and now it's important to think about how this is going to work. So let's say I had an even number. So let's say that this array summed up to be an even number, like let's say it summed up to be 4. And I do modulo 2. Now forget about the end result, odd or even, whatever. What is the result of this expression going to be? If my sum is 4 and I do modulo 2 on it, what's the result of that going to be? 4 modulo 2 is what? Yeah, we kind of memorize this stuff as far as using modulus to see whether something is odd or even, but what is the actual result? Yeah. MLAS coming in there in the first time chat with the right answer. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so the actual result that we get here is 0, right? Now 0, if we're thinking about true and false, if we want to turn this into a ternary, we're thinking about true and false. 0 is what? When we're talking about true and false, 0 is what? Yeah, it's false. So we need to be careful when you're setting these up that you don't get it twisted, that you don't get it backwards. Yeah, it's falsy. Yeah. So when we're setting up this ternary, we need to be careful. We need to be careful that we don't get things in the wrong order, right? So if I have, let's say this is 4, I do a modulo 2 on it. It returns a 0. So in terms of my ternary operator, that's considered falsy. So the true value of this ternary should actually be odd, and then the false value should be even in order to fit that result, right? So let's say this sums to 4. I do modulo 2 on it. It comes back as 0, which is falsy. So that hits the false side of my ternary operator. Therefore, it returns even. Does that make sense? Because I've definitely gotten this backwards before, which is why that's why I'm emphasizing it, because you think like, oh, modulo 2, the true value should be even. No, because this returns 0, it's going to go to false, and so you want that to be your even value. Yeah, and you could do a not equals as well. Yeah, you could flip it around, but if we're just doing a straight up ternary here, all you just need to do is pay attention to the order of the results that you want to return, and you'll be just fine. So let's try this. One-liner mode. Yeah, I just like ternaries. Ternaries are nice. It always feels nice when you come up with a clever ternary that isn't too convoluted. Okay, odd, even. All right, console log. Let's pass in odd or even, and we will pass in one of the test arrays. Excuse me. Let's do one of the negative ones. Yeah, let's do this. All right, save. Let's see what we get. I should have cleared that out first. Right there. Yeah, okay, and the expected result there is even. Perfect. Let's do one of the odds. I don't really have a good example there. I'll just do one. Let's do this. 2. Okay. Odd. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, FizzBuzz is an array problem in 7Q. Okay, yeah. You get to nest some ternaries there. Oh geez. Nested ternaries, that's a whole different beast. Definitely. I don't like nesting ternaries. And with if I'm gonna start doing like multiple operations, I might as well do an if statement with multiple else's, or just do a switch case. I know a lot of folks don't like switch cases. I do. They're pretty common in SQL, which is why I like them, because I'm just used to them. But might as well just do just straight up if statements to make it easier to read at that point. And just in my opinion, you can nest your ternaries if you want. Okay, let's go ahead and plug this in, see if it works. Because apparently I started to do that at some point, and then I just didn't finish it. So yeah, it's already in here. So let's try it. Okay, and we'll attempt it. Hey. Why don't y'all like switch cases? They're like the only way to do if else in SQL. Or like the main way to do if else in SQL. I like switch cases. They're very sturdy. All right. Let's go ahead and submit this. Yay. Yeah, so the reduce is the most common. And then we have so that you can do a loop as well. You can add each one and then compare the results when it's done looping through. But most of the other ones are going to be reduces, I think. Yeah. Mostly reduce, one loop. Yeah. Okay, it's break time. Over break time, actually. So let's take a break. Let's see, how many have we done? We did 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, hey, we're doing really good. Yeah. Yeah. What's the difference between Codewars and LeetCode? Yeah, that's a good question. Rascal summed it up really well. LeetCode is more data structures and algorithms, which we haven't really touched on in class yet. Codewars are more how to do do the functionality of it, right? Do you know the method? Can you grok the logic? And so I think Codewars is a great place to start, and then once you get into the higher order stuff, you can do LeetCode. But Codewars is really good for just grinding on that logic and like getting it embedded in your brain, so you can just be like, oh, I know exactly what method to use in order to accomplish this goal, right? So they serve their purpose in different ways, I think. Yep. Okay, let's put 5 minutes on the clock. Yeah, and then I think we'll do at least one more to get the 5. We'll do at least one more to get the 5. And I do want to show you, just have a little bit of fun at the end with stable diffusion before we wrap up for the evening. But we're going to do at least one more Codewars problem, and then you'll have your 5 for the week, and you'll be done with that, and you can focus on your hit list and all of the other things that you've been assigned this week. So I wanted to get the easy stuff out of the way for you. All right, 5 minutes on the clock, and go. I'll see you back in 5. Oh yeah, Alice, I will answer that question as soon as I get back from break. I'm going to leave you in suspense until then. Okay, folks, we got about a minute left in the break, so come on back if you're coming back. Get a drink of water, use the restroom, whatever you got to do. And in about 30 seconds, so I'll talk a little bit more about the contract that I used for my client. And yeah, then we'll do one more Code Wars. All right. Okay. Gonna stop the timer there. And Weak Potato Clone, welcome to the chat. Weak Potato says Code Wars is hard. Yeah, so depending on how are you using Code Wars, it can be really hard. The important thing to do with Code Wars is to not just kind of like take what it gives you, but to go to the practice, like the kata practice, and set your filters to be whatever like you need, right? So if you need to start with easy problems, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You can just go to the menu bar here and go to practice, and choose your difficulty as 8Q if you're just getting started. Like that's where to start. Choose it as 8Q, and then I would sort by most completed because those are the ones that made the most sense to the most people, right? So that would be my recommendation for you there, Potato. Um, and yeah, that would definitely be my recommendation for you if you're just getting started with Code Wars. Would be to sort it that way. Yeah, and you can do the fun ones tagged as fundamentals. Yeah, it started me on no, yeah, you don't got to start on 7 Potato. That's totally okay. Um, just go to the practice and start on eights. Start on eights, sort by completed or like the ones with the like I like the ones with either most completed or positive feedback. That's a great place to start. Or popularity, like really any of these are okay. And yeah, just take it easy on yourself, right? Don't make it harder than it has to be. Um, yeah, okay. So I was going to answer about the contract. So for my client, I actually used the contract killer contract that Leon recommended in class. I used that. I did make some modifications based on things that I knew I wanted to be very clear on with this client. So I did make some slight tweaks, but I didn't make any major changes to it. I really just left it mostly as is. And my client loved it. They literally came back and they were like, I love this contract. It's the best contract ever because I can read it and I can understand what it's saying to me. They said that they didn't feel like they were being, um, bamboozled by any of the language. Like there wasn't any legalese in it or anything like that. It was just very clear. It laid things out. And I did, make a few tweaks here and there and stipulations of things that I wanted to be specific on. But no, it was just the contract killer contract with a few slight modifications. That was it. Um, the Fat Cat says, Mind Wolf, have you ever went out and contracted with any of your personal clients like Land Wanted? Well, I mean, I do have a client. I actually have one right now. I'm finishing up their site. I got it through family. So I didn't really try very hard. I didn't go out, like, I wasn't like posting out on Facebook or anything like that because I do have a day job and I have certain limitations on my job has certain limitations on the outside work that I can be doing. It's very controlled. So I needed to kind of like, I was transparent with my day job saying like, look, I am potentially taking on an outside client, but I had to like fill out a form and there was all this stuff. And so I didn't go out seeking a bunch of clients because I can't have them. So I actually found it through family. A family member told another person that I was doing this, and their wife has a business, and so that's kind of how I got hooked up with them. Yeah. So I'm not sure if I answered your question there, Fat Cat, but that's how I got my client. And I had another client that was through my dad knew someone who needed a site, and we actually got talking, and it never really panned out, but I got another connection that way too, both of them through family. Oh, Frazee, congratulations. Yeah, that's awesome that you got your client. Yeah, the contract is great. I actually did for mine, I did actually the contract and the proposal. So the contract was very much, the letter of the law in general terms, saying here is what, in general, here's what I will and will not do for you, right? You're going to have to pay me more if you want me to get photos for you and that kind of thing. The proposal was very specific to their project, like exactly what they wanted to do, and saying like, all right, here's the pages that you're wanting, here's the general things that I'm going to have on each page, and here's some of the perks, the additional perks that you wanted, and kind of laying that out and saying, here's what I can, here's kind of selling it a little bit, here's what I can do for you based on these things that you've told me that you want. So I did both. I'm not saying that you necessarily have to, but I actually did the proposal and the contract and sent them to them at the same time. So they had both. So I wasn't springing the contract on them at the last minute, right? So it wasn't like they looked at the proposal and then I threw a contract at them and said, all right, sign this. It was like I gave them both documents to them at once and said, take as long as you need to look at these. Just take your time. It's all good. Take as long as you need. And they really appreciated that. So it just depends on the client, right? Some are just gonna be like, yeah, whatever, I don't care, I'll just sign the thing. But some are really gonna want to read it. So yeah. Yeah, and like Frazee mentioned, get a down payment. Absolutely, a down payment is a must, because with my particular client that I have right now, I had them give me 50% up front, and they ended up having an issue. I really like them, but they ended up having an issue where we had to pause for like a month on the work, and it was just a series of unfortunate events, really. And we had to pause for like a month on the work. So I'm really glad that I got that down payment to kind of be like, look, if they have to bail on me entirely, at least I got my down payment. So that was a good thing to have. So all that work wasn't for nothing. At least I got, my 50%. Piece of Shoe says, my client vanished after paying 75. Wow. That is a waste of money on their part. But I'm glad you got your money. I'm just amazed that happened in general. Like, yeah, that's wild. No, but that was really smart of you, Piece of Shoot, to get that money up front, and that's why you do that, right? It feels weird to ask for money after not doing anything, but it's essential, like for the reasons that Piece of Shoot said. Nani says, is your down payment non-refundable? Do you let them know? So in my case, I essentially said that, yeah, the down payment it's the down payment. If at any point, and I basically said in the contract, if at any point, you want to part ways with me, that's fine. I will turn over all assets and I will turn over all assets that you've given me back to you. And they would have no obligation to pay me the remaining 50%. So that was kind of how I phrased it. So it was basically just, we could end the relationship right there. If they gave me anything, I would give that back to them. And they would have no obligation on that remaining 50%. But I also wouldn't give them, also wouldn't, like finish the site for them or anything first. And contracts are really important too, because actually this particular client was working with someone else for a different role, that was like doing like social media stuff for them, and the relationship turned sour. And I don't know all the details. I didn't bother to learn all the details, but the contract was not clear between both parties, and so the relationship turned really bad. There was credentials that were stolen. There was things there were accusations on both sides of things being done or not being done. And so a contract can really cover your butt in the case that things just don't work out right. Um, yeah. J7 says, do you only build websites for people? I mean, I've only had one client so far. Really, I'm like, I have a day job, so I'm not too invested in this, in this whole freelance thing. It's nice to have, but I so far it's just been websites. Yeah. Yeah, I would not give them back their initial. No, my contract says I don't give them back that initial 50%. Just like, all right, here's like any credentials that you gave me, I will give them back. Any assets like photos or videos, you can have them back. I disown them, I delete them. I wouldn't try to claim. If the relationship went bad, I would give them back all assets and then keep the initial down payment and not ask for anything more from them. Um, that would be the agreement. Yeah. But how you word it is up to you, right? You might decide on a different arrangement, but it's important to cover your butt, right? Cover your butt. Make sure that if things don't go well, that both at least you and the client can understand what would happen in that case or what's supposed to happen in that case, and both of you are protected. And in my case, my contract actually helped me because the client ended up because partially because that relationship went sour. The client actually ended up asking me to do more than I originally had done. For example, making a video for them, editing. I do some video editing. I'm decent at that. And so I was able to edit a video for them and charge them extra for that. So because that was clearly specified in my contract that I'm not going to do these extra things for free. Because they will try to ask you that. They'll be like, "Oh, can you just do this for me?" Well, yeah, I'll do it for you if you pay me. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, sure, of course." And I just basically said politely, like, "Hey, as per the contract, I'm happy to do this for you, but as per the contract, I will be charging extra for this particular, this extra task." And they're like, "Yeah, sure, that's cool." And so I get, extra dollar signs for that. Yeah, F you pay me is an awesome video which exemplifies why we do this. Yeah. Everybody, it might seem weird, it might feel weird and uncomfortable asking people for money up front or saying or really laying down the line on what you will and will not do for a client. But in the end, it just makes things cleaner and easier for both sides to understand. And it can potentially get you more money if they say they need extras. You can be like, yeah, sure, I will do these extras for you, but you're going to pay me more. And so, so everybody wins in the end. The client wins because they get what they wanted, and you win because you get money for it. Erex says, "Do you like SQL more than web dev?" I've done SQL longer. I just have done more of it. I really enjoyed learning web development. JavaScript is really fun. Just because it's so flexible, right? It's loosey goosey. It's all over the place. SQL is a very rigid language. It expects certain things. You do things by the book. There's very little flexibility in it. Whereas JavaScript's like, hey man, whatever you want to do is fine with me, brother. And so it's new and fun that, because it's very different. And so it's been fun to learn. I'm not going to say I like one more than the other. I've just been doing SQL for longer, so I'm better at it. But I wouldn't say I like one more than the other. Fat Cat says, but on the same end, they're asking to simply see if they can get it for cheaper or free. Yeah, and you say no, right? You say no because you're not about that life, right? You're not going to be the kind of person that's going to bend over and just be like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. It's okay, I'll do that. No, because that just ends up with you, being a chump and getting trampled on, right? Um, and so you got to lay down the line. You got to be like, nope, my skills are worth more than that. If you value my skills and if you want access to my skills, then you're going to have to pay me for them. Yep, exactly. Yeah, the expectations themselves matter less as they can vary from person to person. But what matters is the fact that they are written down in stone, like Rascal said. Yeah. Resin says, "How long did it take you to feel well versed in SQL?" So I've only had the job title of developer since last October, so about a year. Um, However, I've been using SQL as on and off as part of various jobs that were not as a developer, just using it sort of recreationally on the job for how long? Let's see, not counting my dev work, I used it for about 4 years prior to that, off and on. Because there was a 3-year stretch when I didn't use it at all. So I'm not counting that. But yeah, I would say 4 years of moderate SQL use before I got hired as an actual SQL developer. But SQL is very easy to pick up. It's I would say it's easy to learn, hard to master. You can pick up the basics super easy and be using it within a few hours. Um, and then the hard part is when you get into database architecture and tuning and that kind of thing. Yeah. Recreational SQL. Not sure if I've ever seen those two together. Yeah. Yeah, SQL is not what you might think of as a like fun and footloose language, but it's very good at what it does. It's extremely it's built for one thing, and that's talking to a database, and dang is it good at it. It is, yep, it's a very narrow focus language, and it does it very, very, very well. It can just slice through, tables with millions and millions of rows like nothing in a couple seconds, depending on the content. So it's extremely good at what it does. Yeah, good conversation. Um, any other questions about clients or SQL or whatever before we resume and do our last code war? Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course, Reza. Sure. Nope. Thank you for the correction. Yeah. Any other questions on clients or contracts um, or code or SQL or anything? Do you look down on those that pronounce it SQL? No, I don't. Um, I don't. I've only ever worked at places that pronounce it sequel, so I'm sure there's some places that that say SQL. But just to be super code weenie pedantic, the original language that SQL or SQL or whatever is based on was actually called SQL, like spelled out, like back the originator language for what we today call today's version of SQL was actually the word SQL in all caps spelled out. So if you got to source your pronunciation from somewhere, might be that. Yeah, it was exactly like that. WJS. It was literally that word spelled out. That was the original language, which is now very it's a different language now, but that was the inspiration. So what about squall? I've never heard it pronounced that way. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to look down on you for saying it in one way or the other. Just if it comes up in an interview, just say it the same way that the interviewer says it, even if they say squall. Yeah, but yeah, if you are interested in learning about SQL or even seeing what SQL looks like, I do have an intro to SQL stream that I did a couple months ago. You can find it on my YouTube channel, exclamation point YouTube in chat for a link to my YouTube channel. And yeah, the video is just called Intro to SQL. It's not very long. I mean, it's a couple hours, and we just go through what is SQL, and then we practice using it, uh, basic SQL operations, and we do them together. You learn how to do them in a sandbox online. So if you want to learn, just dabble a little bit with SQL so you can put it on your resume and say, I know basic SQL, then definitely check that out. Yeah, like I say, SQL is very easy to pick up. I literally picked it up on the job while I was working just because I had to know it. And so it's super easy to pick up. And then really, most people will learn basic SQL and that's where they'll stop. They won't ever go any farther than that. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly enough for a lot of people. Learning how to do basic queries against tables, learning how to do basic joins, and basic, insert up, like basic CRUD operations, right? Doing uh, insert, update, delete, that kind of thing. And yes, CRUD is a thing in SQL. There's all those same operations that we've learned about in Mongo you can do in SQL against the database. And so yeah, if you learn that, for most jobs you'd be just fine. Don't got to learn anything more than that. What's the command again? Kind of a dev. I want to make sure I understand your question. What's the command for what? Oh, for YouTube. Oh, okay. For YouTube, yeah, it's just exclamation point YouTube, which I think Reza did there just below. Oh, SQL basic statements are in your banking. Yeah, it's good to know, right? Because a lot of jobs have that in the job description, just knowing SQL. And if I would say if you watch my basic SQL course and you practice some of those basic SQL commands, you could probably say, yeah, I know basic SQL, and you'd be like, yep, got it. It seems the feature has decided to go with SQL and not SQL. Oh no. Oh, Fat Cat, I didn't. I'll have to look at that video. I didn't know SQL was on Star Trek. Okay, let's get that last. Let's knock out this last Code Wars. Um, where were we at? We did. Let's see. I'm gonna reload this real quick. All right, we did this one. Odd or even, highest profit. What is this one? Oh, okay. So this one is a minimum and maximum. We've already kind of done that. I want to do maybe. I think I want to skip this one. I think I want to skip this one because it's just min and max, and we've already done min and max. Here's another minimum problem. What about this one? Woo. Okay. Yeah, let's do this one. Your team is writing a fancy text editor, and you've been asked with implementing the line numbering. I guess I did this one. Did I do this? I guess I did this one at one point. Let me just make sure I don't have like a solution sitting in there. If I do, I'm going to clear it out. I don't know. I guess I started to write something at some point. Okay. Don't want to spoil anything. All right. Your team is ready to go fancy new. Because a lot of times what I'll do is I would like start one and then just kind of like get distracted and not finish. So your team is writing a fancy new text editor and you've been asked with implementing the line numbering. Write a function which takes a list of strings and returns each line prepended. Ooh, that's a fun word. Prepended by the correct number. The numbering starts at 1. The format is n colon string. Notice the colon and space in between. Okay. Yeah. So they give us an example here, taking in A, B, C, and then returning 1 colon A, 2 colon B, 3 colon C. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's grab this one. What is this? What was this called? Oh, testing 1, 2, 3. All right. I'm gonna name it a little bit more descriptively. I'm gonna say add line numbers. Okay. All right, your team is writing a fancy text editor, line numbering. Okay, so what are our parameters? What are we taking in to this function? Yeah, so what's the input? What are we expecting? Yep, so what we're expecting to come in is an array. An array, and they don't tell us anything about length. They don't say how long it's going to be, right? So an array of varying length containing string values. Yeah. And then what do they want back? What's the result? What do they want out of this? What do we want out of this function? How can we explain it in a concise way? What do we think? Yeah, so what we're getting back is an array, right? An array of strings containing what? An array of strings concatenating with their number. Yeah, okay. Each line represented as a number, right? Okay. An array of strings containing the original values with the line number and a colon space and a colon and space. So containing the original values with a line number and a colon and space in front. Yeah. Okay. And then some examples. We'll grab the test cases for that. Okay. So empty array should return empty array. I'm just going to grab the this test case here. All right. And okay, so thinking about pseudocode. What's a potential way that we could accomplish this? What's a potential way that we could take this, that we could take the input array and add some additional information in front of the values that were originally provided? What's a method that we could use to do that? Yeah, so Tame Mr. Mentioned map. Yep, absolutely. I think map is a good choice. Iterate over the array, add the required info, and return the modified array. Yeah. Yeah, implying map. Mm-hmm. We could say that. And so let's remind ourselves, real quick, let's remind us, if we're going to use map, let's remind ourselves what that means. So let's just go over here to our handy dandy array methods. Yeah. All right. So it calls the function for each element of the array and returns the array of results. So we're transforming each array element. So we can take we iterate over each array element, right? And we can transform it in some way. And so in this case, I think what we want to do is we want to iterate over each array element and add that additional information in front. I think I really like that word prepend that they used in the Codewars problem. Prepend. We're going to prepend the line number, a colon, and a space in front of it, right? Yeah. Oh, and that's a good point. So, yeah, map does not. You're correct. Map does not modify the original array. Yeah, you're ending up with a different result. Yep. Yeah, and for each does modify the original, right? Yep. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to iterate over each array, iterate over each array value, and prepend the line number starting with 1. Line number starting with 1. And add a colon and a space between the line number and the value. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I think we can do that with map. Where did I put it? Oh, here we go. Function array. Okay. Yeah, no worries, noobish. Yeah, definitely catch the VOD. And for anybody that's new here, my VODs are up on Twitch for 60 days. And then I also have that YouTube channel that I mentioned where that's where all my stuff stays forever, right? So it goes up on YouTube, it's there forever. You can look at it at any time. So yeah, VODs are on Twitch for 60 days and they're going to be on YouTube forever, at least until YouTube implodes or something like that. You never know. All right, so let's console log array.map. And then what we're going to want to do is take, so, okay, wait, hang on. Let's look at the arguments for map. Yeah, so we're taking the item and then, so inputting this one's inputting the item and then using an arrow function and doing some sort of transformation on it. So I think what we're going to do here is, yeah, this is, let's see. Okay, so yeah, it's just a function for each element. All right, so what we're going to do here is I think we need both the original value. So I'm just going to call that like char or alpha. Let's call it alpha. So we're going to take in alpha and the oh, right up map. Extra parenthesis there, alpha. And then we're also going to need the index value, I think, because for the index is going to tell us what line number we're on. And so essentially what we can do here is we can just take the index value of the array item, right? Add 1 and we get a line number. Yeah, and like Piece of Sheet said, it's element, index, and array. Yep. So the element here is alpha or like ABC. The index is literally the position of each item, right? So all we need is the actual element, or right here, like ABC, and the index value. That's all we need in order to do this, I think. So what we can do then is essentially build our string. Oh, coding with strangers. What up? We rated them. When did we raid you? Was that Sunday? I think it was Sunday. Yeah, we rated them on Sunday. They were super fun. And so, yeah, definitely check them out. Hey, Coding with Strangers. So we're doing Codewars tonight. Codewars, I don't always do Codewars. Usually we do more full-fledged projects, but we've been given a Codewars assignment for the week through 100 devs. And so we're just knocking those Codewars out this evening so we don't have to worry about them later. Like a week ago, do the dates. Yeah. Yeah, and I know a lot of folks from my chat were helping you out, so I hope they brought they're very wholesome chat, so I'm glad they brought their wholesomeness to you. Okay, so we're console-logged. We did an array map. We got our alpha. We got our index, and then essentially all we need to do now is just build the result, right? So if I want to build a string which contains multiple variables, what is the best way for me to do that? To quickly build a string containing multiple variables. Yeah, we should use template literals. Yep, we're going to use template literals in order to build this string very quickly using multiple variables. You could use classic string, like just, single quote and do all the plus signs and stuff like that. But in this case, I think template literals are going to be quicker for us. So let's do that. It's good to practice template literals anyway. So in this case, what we want is to get this. So if we pay attention, we should be able to. So I'm going to do index plus 1. Now, why did I do that? Why am I saying index plus 1? And then after that, I can put my colon and my space. I don't have to use the plus signs because template literals work that way. Index starts at 0. Yep. Our index starts at 0. You got us beat by one character. No $sign in Python. Yeah. Oh, and speaking of, and two, I think the last thing we're going to do on this stream after we finish this problem, we're almost done. We're going to look, speaking of Python, this maybe somebody said Python, made me think of it. We're going to look at Stable Diffusion, which is an AI image generator that I think you can like, it's powered by Python or whatever. So we're going to look at that as the last thing, just have some fun with it. So all right, and then basically we have our colon, we have our space, and then we just need our alpha value, and that should do it, I think. And I think I'm missing a parenthesis. Index 1 plus 1 equals 2. Well, so in this case, J7, remember we do start at 0, so the first index is actually going to be 1. In this case, what we're doing here is we start at 0, so we add 1, and so our first value is going to be 1, and then 2, 3, etc. Right? So, all right, let's test this out. I think we should be good here. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to look at one of the test cases real quick. Okay, so just number, and then, all right, pass that in. Cool. So number A, B, C. Oh, thank you, Coding with Strangers. Rascal 2, I'm giving you the rights to my channel. Rascal 2 already has their own stream. So if you're not subscribed to Rascal 2, the ever omnipresent, helpful Rascal 2, they actually have their own stream. So definitely check them out. All right, let's try this. Hey, what up? Look at that. I think that's what we want. I'm feeling good. Let's drop this bad boy in there. First try. Yeah. Cha-ching. Coming in clutch with the sound effects. I like it. All right, we'll turn this into a return. All right, and then we'll test it. All right, and then I'll attempt it. Hey! Those are some intense test cases. All right, let's submit it. No worries, Curtis. Good to see you. Catch the VOD if you like. All right, and don't forget to rate your katas. This was a fun one. Yeah, so we got array.map here, and then also they're doing it the more traditional way using the plus, plus signs, but we did it the cool way using template literals because we're cool kids. This one here is also using template literals. This one's doing a if else and looping through, which is fine too. You can loop. In this case, I think reading this loop is a little bit harder than it would be just using map. Like it's a little harder to understand, right? Maybe the solution was so old the template literal didn't exist. That's very possible. Template literals are fairly new, so yeah, and arrow functions too. Dabbled in self-teaching years ago before template literals. They're so nice to have coming back. Yeah, they are pretty cool. I didn't like them at first because I was for the longest time I'd been really heavy into Excel. If you don't know, in Excel you you kind of do things like the traditional way, like you using like dollar, like using ampersands and stuff like that to concatenate strings together. And so I was just used to kind of doing it that way, thinking about concatenating things very strictly. So I didn't like template literals at first, but now they've really grown on me. They're so flexible. Yeah, and that's how you do it, like in a macro too. Yeah, I was thinking more of like formulas, but I did macros as well. So you kind of get into a way of thinking, right? And it can be hard to change. But now I'm on board. Um, WJS says, Mindwolf, I'm having a hard time completing some of the 6 Qs and most of 5s. Should I just keep tackling 8s and 7s? Yeah, I mean, stick in your, like, don't make it so hard on yourself that you don't want to do it anymore. And like I mentioned, it's not necessarily about being able to do the most code wars or being able to do all the hard code wars. It's more about, can you answer the questions effectively? Can you go into an interview, be given a coding question, answer it in a logical way, such as using prep, like we did here? Can you answer it in a logical way? Can you communicate well with your interviewer instead of just putting your head down and solving the problem? That's not what they want. They want you to be able to communicate the answer to them, communicate your methodology, show that you really understood the question. And so it's not about doing the hardest stuff, right? It's about learning the process, playing the game, learning the rules of that game. Yeah, and piece of shit, that's a good way to handle it too. Try to follow a theme. So yeah, just focus. That's what Leon is having us do this week, right? Focus on strings. We focused on strings last week. We're focusing on arrays this week. He's not doing that just for fun, right? He's doing that to help you see the patterns and reinforce certain things at certain times. So yeah. And speaking of that, we did your 5 code wars, your 5 array code wars for the week. So um, feel free to do more, but the requirement was 5. So I would suggest, reviewing these answers, or, going back and maybe watching again, reviewing these answers, pausing the video, trying to think about why we did what we did, applying them yourself, testing different ways of doing it. And, just kind of making sure that you really grasp what we've done here. And overall, though, the most important thing about Code Wars is that you don't make it so hard on yourself that you stop doing them, right? It doesn't really matter what level you do them at, as long as you get them done. Because the more you do, the more you learn. Exactly. Just do one each day, even if it's an 8Q. Even if you're like, I can't do any more than this, that's fine. Do one a day, do an 8Q, you'll learn something either way. Yep. And don't do them all at once like I did. That was not smart. Because I felt like I learned less that way, right? Because I just front loaded so much. So it's better if you just space it out, keep an even steady pace, and be consistent. Yeah. Okay. So last thing I want to just show you guys tonight. I think it's just kind of fun. This is not related to really related to JavaScript so much, but I did just want to kind of show you Stable Diffusion, because we kind of talked about DALL-E, which is another image generating software. I think we talked about that on the last stream. And so AI image generation is becoming a very like big field, a really burgeoning field lately. And there's a lot of different tools out there. Stable Diffusion is one of the newest that has come out. And the cool thing about Stable Diffusion is it's free. It's so free. You don't got to pay for it. And you can install it yourself on your own machine if you want to do so. Which I think is pretty much the coolest thing. So, like with DALL-E, you get a certain number of credits per month. And once you spend those credits, you have to pay to generate more images. And like stuff like Crayon, uh, it's free, but it's maybe not as good. It maybe doesn't give you really good looking results. But with Stable Diffusion, if you have a decent enough graphics card, and enough memory, you can download it yourself. So that's what I did. So just for reference, I'm running I'm running a NVIDIA 3070 in my tower, and I can generate images fairly quickly. I can do 5 images within like 30 seconds. And if you have a lower spec card, it might take longer, but it might still work. So this is, I just want to show you guys, we can maybe do a couple fun little prompts before we wrap up here for the evening. This is a Stable Diffusion with a GUI. So you could install it raw if you wanted to. They have a GitHub up there. Like, it's literally out on GitHub. Literally on GitHub. You could, if you have the skills, a little bit of Python knowledge, you could install it yourself. I chose to go the GUI route, um, just because there was a GUI out there and I didn't want to mess around with Python. So, but that's up to you. I'm using the NMKD Stable Diffusion GUI, which does everything that Stable Diffusion can, except it gives you a nice interface. Yeah, and exactly, Rascal. I am actually planning on setting up a channel point reward for this, so that y'all can, if you spend your channel points, you can give me a prompt, and I will generate some Stable Diffusion output for you. So for example, I just wanted to show you, this is probably too small for you to see. I can't zoom in, it's not that clever. But it's, my prompt was a futuristic soldier holding an American flag and standing on the surface of Mars. And this is what it gave me. Pretty wild, huh? So what I thought was really cool is that this is clearly a soldier from like the boots and the pants. And obviously it's holding a flag, but what I thought was interesting is that it said, oh, surface of Mars, this has to be a spaceman. Like this person has to be wearing a space helmet. I thought it might just give me like a person. That's kind of why I said soldier specifically. I was like, is it just going to give me a person just standing on Mars with a flag? But no, it gave me a person wearing a space helmet but with soldier clothes standing on Mars, which I thought was really interesting because at no point did I say like astronaut in this prompt. It was just smart enough to get that. Yeah. So the futuristic part, I would say it's like the space helmet, and there's like, it might be kind of hard to see, but they've got like stuff on their chest, like I don't know, gadgets on their chest and that kind of thing. Yeah, I haven't tried an NVIDIA Canvas, no, either. So if anybody wants to give me a prompt, we could have a little bit of fun with this before we wrap up, um, and just see what we get. Oh boy, okay. Darth Vader. All right. Darth Vader fighting Voldemort over the last turkey in a grocery store on Thanksgiving. Okay, this might be nuts. This might be nuts, but let's see what it does. So I'm just gonna drop this in here. I'm gonna fix the capitalization. Darth Vader fighting Voldemort um, over the last turkey in a grocery store on Thanksgiving. Okay. And I'm not going to really tweak any of these prompts here. The only thing I have changed from the defaults is upped the creativeness a little bit to make it stick more closely to the prompt. So let's see what we get. It does take a minute. It does make my GPU have some second thoughts about its life choices, but it'll go pretty quick. All right. So it's loading, and then what it's going to do is it's going to generate 5 images in sequence. And I have no idea whether they'll mean anything or not. I've gotten extremely varied results in like the couple hours that I've messed with this. Yeah, the 3070 handles it pretty well. It doesn't take too long to build 5 images. I've never tried it while I'm streaming though. I'm making it pull double duty here, so we'll see. Yeah, I'm using the Euler sampling method as well. No worries. It's really hard to read. There's no way to zoom in here, unfortunately. And I think it might be a little bit slower because I'm actively streaming right now. But what is the copyright like in that? Oh my god, look at that. Look at that. That's look. Voldemort has like a wand, and then there's Darth. CPU on fire. Yeah. That is pretty good. It's obviously in a grocery store. Oh god, I love this. Yeah, my fan is kicking up a notch here. It's going like, oh my god, why are you doing this while you're streaming? What are you doing to me? Yep. Still cooking. Yeah, it generated 1 image in 42 seconds. Normally it takes like 15 to 17 seconds. Now that's just Darth Vader. I don't see any Voldemort. Maybe, okay, Voldemort's wearing an invisibility cloak in this one. Yeah, we'll just say that. Results may vary, but that's why it gives you 5 images, right? It does something a little bit different each time. Yeah, there's no turkey. I ain't seen no turkey so far. So Rav asked, what is the copyright like in that? Can I enter it in an art contest? Did you hear? So you made that sounds like a bit of a leading question. Did you hear about the recent controversy where an AI generated image was entered into an art contest and won? It was digitally generated by AI. It was entered into an art contest and it won. And there's a lot now. There's a major controversy brewing over that. Look at this one. Look at the random monster arm. There's a random monster arm here on the left. The first one is still the best. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where we're at a little bit of a transformative step, right? And I kind of mentioned this before. I feel like we're at a point where this type of thing is going to become ubiquitous, and so we need to understand it. We need to be comfortable with it, and we need to know its capabilities and its limitations. If you can't beat them, join them, right? And we're going to have to join them because it's coming. So, turkey arm. Ooh, okay, that's interesting. Okay, so there's like a so this guy he is holding a wand. Yeah, I can, he's got a, it's kind of hard to see, but like he's got that in his hand there. So it's like a keep your hands to yourself in that one. Okay, I still think number one wins. So DevQuest. So I am streaming in full 1080. So if your image quality is not good, um, you might want to adjust your stream settings. So I am streaming. I'm streaming in full 1080p. Um, so it should be pretty clear. The only reason I was saying like bad image quality was just because I couldn't zoom in this. I can't actually zoom in. Yeah, there was a time when I did stream at like 15 to 30 FPS, a little bit slower. Yeah, yeah, I could always try backing it down too. But yeah, this one I think is the best. This one, and I'm gonna make a channel points reward for this going forward. So, um, the font is a little blurry. It's amazing they look like they're interacting with Turkey. Turkey is not just included in pick for sentence. Yeah, that was a while back. We're moving up. Yeah. Okay, let's do one more prompt. Somebody else got a prompt they want to try. And also, too, what I think is really interesting is if we look at this, like this is writing here, but you can't read it. It's clear the AI. What I think is wild is the AI is trying to make writing here. It's trying to write something, but it can't quite understand how to generate like written text in this way. So what it gives you is just scribbles that kind of look like text, which I think is it's kind of creepy in a way. Yeah. Does anybody else have a prompt they would like to give me? Watermelon person with snowshoes on running through a gumdrop forest. Okay. Hot sauce and chicken. All right, let's try it. And then I can show you a couple of the outputs that I did before too. Um, there was one that was absolutely terrifying. Um, one of them was okay. I think one person with snowshoes on. I'm gonna change this to be wearing snowshoes, just to be very clear in what we're trying to tell it to do. Um, uh, wearing snowshoes. Is snowshoes one word or two words? Um, wearing snowshoes. Um, running through a gumdrop forest. One? Yeah, I don't know. Is it one or two? I guess I could Google it, but that's why I have Twitch chat to Google things for me. Okay, let's do. Let's make that one word. Snowshoes. I just want to be very clear on what it, telling it what to do very clearly. Okay, one person wearing snowshoes running through a gumdrop forest. All right, let's go. Let's do it. But yeah, I think the minimum requirements for this tool are a 10 series. So it only works with NVIDIA right now. So sorry, AMD graphics card people, you're out of luck. But I think you only need like a 10 series NVIDIA card in order to do this. It might take longer to generate the stuff, but I think you only need a 10 series card or better. And then let's see, what was the other thing? Like, was it 4 gigs of VRAM or more? So the requirements aren't too steep. Some folks could probably even run it on their laptops if you have a hefty enough mobile graphics card. But yeah, I can and I'm gonna, while this is running, I'm gonna get you the link for, if you out there want to also install this GUI. Like I say, it's completely free, and it's really easy to use. It's really easy to use. Oh, I love it. It's a person wearing a watermelon in the snow. Oh God. Now that should win. That should win the art contest. Oh God. Oh yes. Oh my God. Look at this. Look at this. They did it. It did it. It did it. That's a good one. And look, it's even got gumdrops in the back. Those are little gumdrops. It's a watermelon person wearing snowshoes going through a gumdrop forest. That's the one. Yeah. That's just freaking amazing. Real quick, I'm gonna find the link to the GitHub for you, or well, no, not the get to find the link to the GUI for you. NMKD Stable Diffusion GUI. So it's a free download if you want, but I would highly suggest donating if you can. If you can, no requirement. They don't. It's not required to donate, but if you do install it, you might show your support by tossing the creator a couple bucks. If you are able to do so. I'm scared that this might break my computer. You don't know until you try. And do look at the minimum requirements and see if maybe you meet those or not. I will also give you a link to the GitHub with just the basic Stable Diffusion code. So if you have the skills and the desire, you can install it just using the basic GitHub code. CompViz Stable Diffusion. Oh, I actually like that one. It doesn't fit the prompts, but it's really cool looking. So that's the link to the GitHub code if you want to do it just from the command line. Yeah, this one's just aesthetically pleasing. It's just a watermelon person in the snow, like they're on top of snow. It looks like, and I think those are supposed to be gumdrops, but yeah. Jazzy says, this is awesome, almost as good as the results I'm getting with Dolly. Yeah, and I've actually seen better results if you know, like once you know how to tweak it. I've only had it for a couple hours, so I don't really know like how to optimize it, but I've seen some freaking amazing results that other people have posted from Stable Diffusion. Just after knowing how to optimize things. Okay, that one doesn't work at all. But they can't all be winners, right? Number two. So this is my favorite just because it's absurd. Um, I love it. But this one fits the prompts. Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about prompt crafting. Absolutely. Like Rascal said, is if you can write a good prompt, you can get a good output. Entered in a contest. Okay. Best day ever. All right, all right, all right, all right. One more. Last one, then I'm gonna end the stream. But I'm having too good of a time. Yeah, you can curate your prompt, right? So you can have your text of the thing that you want to generate, and then you can specify what style you want it to be. So actually, I do want to show you real quick. I did one. Let me get it pulled up here. So I did a prompt saying uh, a what did I say? I said something like a Soviet era propaganda poster advertising space flight. So I specified propaganda poster and like Soviet era, um, and I can show you what I got back. Um, some of the stuff is really amazing looking. So I love this. And it gives it that pop, that pop of those old propaganda posters. Um, and like this one's really cool too. You can see it was trying to do like Cyrillic writing down there. Um, and I love that. And this one's probably my favorite though. It's kind of weirdly cropped, but and this one's really great too. So yeah, if you curate that in the way, if you tweak the style, you can get exactly what you want out of it. Album cover material right there. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And another interesting too. I wanted to generate one that was like Chinese New Year on the moon. Um, and this wasn't a particularly good result, but something interesting was just um, how it tried to replicate text without understanding what it meant. So Chintzy Yui. But it was trying, right? It was trying. I think I said New Year, Chinese New Year on the moon in the year 3000. And so it was trying, but it couldn't quite get it. So just thought that was interesting how it can really understand some things and not others. So close to real writing. Yeah. I think we're going to get there. We're going to get to the point where it can generate text in an image like that. Because right now, there's AI models for text generation, and then there's AI models for image generation, and they're kind of two separate things right now. But I think the next step is merging those two concepts to where it can generate, text within an image and have that be readable and understandable. Okay, so we got some prompts here. A dog holding a birthday cake for its cat neighbor. Oh yeah, no worries, Moonpick. I hope you have fun with it. Are these things copyright free? I mean, I haven't read all the text yet, but I mean, you're the one supplying the prompt, right? The AI is just generating it for you. So I would suggest looking at their website and making sure that you have free use of this. But I think right now it's all open source. Yeah, and and you got to pay attention to what you're putting in there too. Like if you say Mickey Mouse or some copyrighted character and have that featured in your work, then you might encounter some additional problems there. Um, so Reza, so this is essentially Open Dolly. This is open source, free to use, does most of the same things that Dolly does. Um, yeah. And well, this is brand new, so we're kind of in the kind of in the glory days. I think a lot of these times these things do start out as open source, and then eventually they go behind a paywall. So I'm really curious to see if this sort of thing stays open source or if it eventually doesn't. All right, so the prompt that we have here: a dog holding a birthday cake for its cat neighbor. Okay. All right. A dog holding a birthday cake for its cat neighbor. Okay, let's do it. And go. But yeah, definitely feel free to download the GUI, download the source code. It's all out there for the taking. So go on and mess with it. It's on version 1.4 right now, and I imagine it'll keep getting better and better as they refine it. Yeah, and Blip said there are already forked versions being trained on different data sets to be used commercially. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm sure this thing is, there's going to be optimized versions of this that are going to be really, really good at like one thing, right? Like logo generation, maybe. Or I don't know, generating certain categories of images like clothing, like maybe people wearing different types of clothing or different types of faces. Yeah. So I think it's probably almost done with the first image. Oh, look at that. That's so cute. They're having a birthday. There's one being trained specifically on anime. Color me not surprised. Yeah, it looks great because like the dog, it's kind of hard to tell, but the dog is holding the plate in its mouth, and then the cat is like reaching. The cat is reaching for the cake, and the dog is wearing a party hat. Oh, look at what's on the cake. HPPHPAY. That's like the dog. I bet the dog did the frosting on the cake. Oh man, I will literally be doing this all day, like next weekend. Dog has a happy day. Yep. Look at, he's got party hats on his ears. I don't know if that's a cat or a dog, and I'm a little afraid to ask. Cat dog. This cat looks very like distinguished. It's a dat. It's a cog. Oh, that's a really good one. I like that. We've had some winners this time. Although that watermelon person, I'm gonna have to enlarge that and have that as my desktop background. I'm so glad. And the cool thing about this too is that it like with Dolly, your images, you can see your past images, but they're stored like in the browser, right? And you have to download each one. But with Stable Diffusion, they're all stored on your machine. Like they're in my pictures folder. So I can see them whenever I want. This one's kind of creepy. Dog with a party. I don't see any cat anywhere. Yeah, so this one's really good. This one's just adorable. This one is interesting. This one's another good one. Evil doggo. And this one doesn't have a cat. All right, but yeah, I think for me anyway, the winner of the day is. Let's see, where is it? I gotta refresh this. The winner of the day is by far and away this one. I don't know why. I just love it more than anything else I've ever seen. My little watermelon person. Okay. Well, like I say, feel free. I gave you the links. Feel free to install the GUI yourself and just go nuts. Also, feel free to if you prefer, you can use the command line tool as well, the open source GitHub code, however you want to do it. And I am going to make a channel point reward for this. So if you want me to do this again, generate a custom prompt for you, see what we get back. I will make this a channel point reward to do on stream. Um, yeah, but I think we're going to wrap it up. Um, I think we're going to wrap it up for tonight. As much as I would love to just do this all night long and just keep doing prompts, I think we are going to have to wrap it up. But again, I will have this as a channel point reward going forward. And yeah, we'll keep having fun with it in the future. And I'll be sure to share any really cool ones that I generate, um, just just for funsies. Looks like it ate the cat. We can squeeze this into the future Lego stream. Yeah. Oh, and speaking of, I might plan for a Lego stream this Saturday, since because also too, before everybody goes, um, Leon is doing the super review this Sunday. So that's likely going to be many hours long, and so I don't want to subject you to the super review and then have you sit through my stream afterwards. So we probably won't be doing, as long as the super review remains on. I doubt we'll be doing a stream this Sunday. So we might do like a Lego stream or something on Saturday. I don't know. Just watch Twitter. That's where I'll announce that kind of thing. Exclamation point Twitter if you want to follow me. That's where I announce my schedule changes or in stream topics before every single stream. So definitely a good idea to follow me there. And we could do early Sunday. I thought about that. But I want to make sure that you have the energy to focus on Leon's stream like 100%, right? Because if you've been watching me for 3 hours, and then you have to go watch Leon for 6 hours, I mean, you're going to be a little bit tired, right? There's just no getting around it. So yeah, it's going to be a lot. And I really want everybody to focus on the super review. It's super valuable. If you didn't see the first one, Leon did one a while back for like everything up to JavaScript, and it was incredibly valuable. So definitely tune in for that, and really give it your full attention on Sunday. Oh, you did your kitten prompt with Dolly? Okay, well, we can look at that. Thank you, Fiftas. Yeah, good to have you here. All right, let's see what Dolly said for the Oh, look at this. Two kittens dressed like Russian peasants arguing over a game of checkers. Detailed art, Renaissance art, fresco, Michelangelo. That's beautiful. Excellent. That looks like Connect Four. They look like they're playing Connect Four, and I love the cubes. I love the random cubes. That's really cool. Yeah, yeah. That's another good one there. All right, all right, all right, all right. Fine. We'll do this one. Okay, I gotta curiosity's getting the best of me. We gotta try the same prompt in Stable Diffusion and see what we get. We just have to. It's necessary. You roped me into it. What are you doing to me, Jazzy Pants? You roped me into it. All right, we're cooking. My GPU fan is going, hey now. Yeah, it'll be cool to see the difference. I can hear my GPU fans like it's not really, but it's surprisingly it's not taking as much effort as I might have thought. Probably if I was trying to do bigger images with more steps, it might, but really it's like, I mean, it's not even, I'm not getting a ton of heat or anything. So the 3070 is handling it pretty well. Does anybody have an alternative GUI link for Mac users? Yeah, I don't know if there's Mac support right now. There's other GUIs out there though. This is not the only one. The one that I shared with you is I mean, it's open source, right? So people are going to be building like crazy for it. Oh, what's the, okay. That's literally just Russians playing checkers. Those aren't kittens. Yeah, actually, I think there might be kittens on the board. It's hard to see. I mean, it's beautiful. But yeah, those aren't kittens either. Yeah, and there is that's right. There is a web GUI for Stable Diffusion. So just like there is for Dolly, there is a web version. So you could always use that one if you're on if your graphics card isn't powerful enough or you're on a Mac. Um, the web I messed around with the web GUI a little bit. It's much slower because there's a queue, so you have to wait in line. But it is still free, so it can't handle the absurdity. Oh, okay. Look at that. So we have a cat. This is actually kind of neat. We have a cat playing against a man, and yeah, they're obviously playing checkers or chess. Yeah, that's better. The cat appears to have three eyes, but you know. Two more to go. Let's see what we get in the last two. Okay, that's really similar to the other one. It's actually kind of beautiful, but and like I say, I really don't have the refinements on this down yet. There's a lot of tweaking that you can do, and I haven't done any of that. So I'm sure I've seen output that's much better than this. I just haven't started tweaking things yet. Oh, oh, I like that one. That's a cat there on the left, and that appears to be a human cat hybrid. Nice. Hey, Crypto Novato. We're just messing around here with Stable Diffusion, which is an AI image generator. Yeah. So yeah, I think this followed the prompt better. Um, Definitely. But it's interesting the styles that were chosen, right? Like the base style of the work. So I would say this is actually more like Renaissance art, right? This looks more of like just maybe like a standard painting. I would say this looks more Renaissance. So this is following like the style maybe a little bit more closely, but it didn't quite capture the prompt as well. So like the actual text of the prompt. So that's really interesting to me that like this captured the Renaissance style super good. Um, in all cases, like this is very clearly Renaissance. Whereas this could be, you know, any it just sort of looks like just a nice oil painting. Um, but it definitely didn't capture the cat aspect except in a couple. So it's interesting. Yeah, I love it. Very fun to mess with, but we got to wrap it up. But again, feel free. I will, here, let me just, here's the link, the GitHub again, if you want to install it yourself and play around with it. And I'll also get the download for the GUI. Yeah, the stay diffusion. So here's the GUI that you can download, and uh, stable. Let's see. Here's the article that I got it from. It's got the link to the web GUI as well, and you can see some examples of really good output from Stable Diffusion. That person looks terrifying. But yeah, people have tweaked it to do some crazy stuff. Yeah, like here's some examples. Trying to find it here. Yeah, like this one. That's wild. Oh, I think maybe I still have the web link open somewhere. Hang on. Oh, it was oh, I found it. Yeah. Okay. So here's the web version. If you don't have a machine that can support Stable Diffusion, here's how you can use it on the web. Again, there's a queue, so it takes a little bit longer, but you can still do the same things. So that's the web link for the web GUI. All right, let's go ahead and find somebody to raid. And we'll wrap things up for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm glad we had fun. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm glad we. All right. Glad we had fun this evening. Did some Code Wars. Messed around with some image generation. All right. Does anybody have any suggestions on somebody that they might like to raid today? Otherwise, we will pick someone. We could do. I don't think we've. What about Nikwan? Nikwan Data Science. I don't think we've done them in a while. Have we done them in a while? I don't think so. Yeah. Okay, let's do them. All right, here we go. Starting the raid. I will see you all again maybe this weekend. Again, keep an eye on my Twitter. Definitely tune in to Leon's Super Review on Sunday. That should be your first priority. And if not, then I'll see you again on Wednesday. So, all right, have a good one. Bye.